And let's see if that actually works. Poppy, you've timed that absolutely exquisitely. Well done, thank you very much. Are we live? Oh, it says disco balls everywhere. Let's get rid of that one. Is everything working? Am I visible? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Quick test of sound. Is that in sync? Waiting for the chat. There is a bit of a delay, I do apologise. Sound is great. You're all happy to see Poppy. Excellent. Sound is great. And we have visuals and you're in sync as well. So let's check to make sure that everything is working. So let's go to the overhead camera. And this should still be working and you should still be able to hear me. Again, some claps there. Are they in sync? Wait for you to come back. Perfect. Good stuff. Is the good Poppy. Oh dear. Everything is good my end. Excellent. So the overhead is working. Just someone type in overhead okay if the overhead is okay. Bring back Poppy. All right, we have done. There she is. She likes this mat. She goes to sleep on it quite often. Yes, a little lag, in sync. Head is okay. Oh, a little lag. A little lag, I can live with that. Make sure desktop stream's working. Yep, that's working. Can you still hear me as well while the desktop is on? Hopefully you can. And let's go back to the main camera and hopefully we should still be in sync. Hopefully. Now the reason I'm asking this is because for those of you who watched last week's stream, which was an absolute nightmare, we were using multiple USB capture devices for the overhead camera and the static camera that you can see there. And for some reason, the AM5 chipset in this new PC behind me was an absolute abomination. It was just crashing left, right and centre. It was absolutely hideous. So I was getting a little bit sick towards the end of the stream last week. I was getting a bit of a cold, I think I've got some sort of sinus infection going on, but anyway, that is kind of clearing up now, so feeling 95% better, almost at the top. So yes, that is what we've been working on this week. So I've actually got rid of the USB cards and now we have a dedicated Elgato HDMI Camlink Pro, which has 4 HDMI inputs. So it should make things a little bit easier and it should work. My problem before was I couldn't get the audio to work very well with it. A card I got from Amazon cheap, so I sent it back, but they were on offer, so I got another one and it appears, touch wood, fingers crossed, that it works now. And a quick thank you there to Ugly Bob and saying congrats on 85k subs. Yeah, that's another one of those little milestones. It's always good to cross a threshold, so to speak. So we're on the struggle now. Whenever you get to a certain amount of number subscribers on YouTube,
that was no English.
Yeah, excuse my English there. Yeah, you get to a point. It seems, I don't know whether subscribers, if they see you're on like, say for instance, 85,001 or 2, whatever, or low numbers, it seems people are less likely to subscribe. Yet if you're on something like 84,900 and something, it seems people are more willing to subscribe. So you see, it happens all the time. We watch it quite often to see what's going on, and you can see as you get towards a certain number, you get a slight increase in subs, but once you've crossed that threshold, you see a slight decrease until it levels out and then goes again. So you get these peaks and troughs around different sort of numbers. It's almost tempting to just hide the numbers altogether so nobody actually knows. But anyway, yes, hopefully. And as I was saying, audio's in sync here. The sound is a little out of sync. Just a little out of sync, a fraction, okay. Now, yeah, what we've got now is I've got a 3.5mm jack, my mic plugged into the PC, so it's using PC audio, and then it's got the hardware capture cards. So it may drift out of sync very slightly. If it gets to be annoying or whatever, the best thing you can do is actually refresh your browser for some reason there's something built into Google or into Chrome, it seems more so, that there's some sort of thing which syncs video. I don't know how it does it, but it does seem to do it so that if audio is slightly out, it kind of seems to kind of drift it back in. Only very slightly, but I have noticed this on a few videos. Very weird. Anyway, so Mark Point says, you know what they say, Mike, more money, more problems. I would agree with that entirely. This week has been, but last week and this week have just been an absolute nightmare. Trying to get to grips with 2 new architectures. So that is the 13th gen on the Intel side for my editing PC, and then AM5 for the streaming PC. And then throw in a few other curveballs along the way, such as the motherboard we'll be taking a look at tonight. It's just been an extremely emotional week. When you're not feeling well anyway, it doesn't help to have these weird quirks. But it seems the streaming PC has settled down massively. It was buggy as all hell. And I've basically got the kind of, from what I can tell, the exact same settings that I had previously, but I've unflashed the board to an older BIOS and then flashed it to a newer BIOS again. So we're still on the beta BIOS, but something which I did, which I didn't think would make any difference, but I'm thinking it has, and that is taking the processor out and putting it back in again. Literally, I've reseated the CPU, and that appeared to reduce, if not eradicate, my problems. Now we'll find out today if the stream goes completely tits up, then we'll know that I was just being hopeful. But it does seem weirdly, just literally taking the processor out of the socket, putting it back in, and possibly taking out the other things, because I had the motherboard out of the case altogether. So I'm not sure, but there does seem to be this very common thing now with modern motherboards where manufacturers are spraying or coating them with something and they feel almost sticky. Now I've heard this from a few people actually on the Discord saying, I've just got my brand new motherboard out and the back of it feels sticky. Now let me know if you're in the chat live, if you've got a sticky motherboard from new, not that you've made it sticky for some ungodly reason, which I don't want to hear about. But if you have got a motherboard which is got like a sort of tacky feel to it from new out of the box, then please do let me know. Now I've had 2 brand spanking new MSI motherboards recently, and I noticed on both of them, the back of the board, I didn't so much notice it on the front, but definitely on the back of the board, there did seem to be some sort of tacky, sticky residue. And I don't know what it is.
Ugly Bob bought a keyboard from Dave Aiken, which was sticky.
Excellent. So yeah, I don't know whether they're putting some sort of protective coating on them in shipping, and somehow some of that coating is actually getting onto the front of the board, and maybe some of the pins possibly aren't making contact. I honestly don't know. I'm completely hypothesizing here, but it would seem that either the pins on the motherboards aren't quite strong enough, in which case reseating the processor after it's been used for a little while, as it's kind of bedded in a little bit, maybe it helps to make contact, potentially. Another thing is if there is some sort of weird coating that they're put on them, or is being kind of subjected to in the manufacturing process, if that coating is then getting onto the kind of the tips of those pins on the processor, maybe under certain heat loads or whatever, or when it's cold, as you get expansion and contraction, maybe some of those pins aren't quite making contact. Again, I am completely hypothesizing. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's just something that I'm throwing out there, asking the question, has anyone else had this at all? Simon Arden says, I remember people saying this on the OC UK last year on MSI boards. Well, that would make some sense. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's something actually the MSI are doing. I haven't noticed it on other boards, to be honest with you, although I don't think I've had any other new boards from other manufacturers recently to kind of, well, which would have been in the same sort of thing. Lucky Man saying solder residue. I'm guessing this definitely possible. I don't know how the boards are made. I don't know how the boards are made. That was the greatest of English there. I actually have got another motherboard here somewhere in a box, which I can take out. This is, I believe, is a new-ish board, which has been sent over from MSI as a loaner. So this is the MPG or MAG B660 Carbon Wi-Fi. This, if you remember rightly, was the board I was discussing in last week's stream when I was having so much problem with the Tomahawk that I was suggesting sending it back and basically getting this instead. I actually reached out to MSI and asked them about it, see if there's any other people that have been having similar sort of problems that I was having. And they said, well, we'll send you another board so you can basically review it anyway. So that's a kind of win-win for them. And also you can test it to see if it alleviates your problems to save you buying another motherboard for now. So thank you MSI for that, much appreciated. I haven't actually tried to see what this is like yet. This has been used, it's been sent around, it's done the review cycles, etc. So I'm not expecting it to be particularly sticky, but there is, yeah, Kath, would you say that was tacky? You're probably a better...
Why would I be better?
Well, you're a woman and you clean things.
Allegedly. Not really.
Right there. You feel anything? Doesn't feel like clean plastic, does it?
No, it does feel a bit like, yeah, something.
There definitely seems like it. Well, you might be able to see it actually. You can. I think you can see it in certain angles. If I do the overhead camera, that'd make sense, wouldn't it? So, can you see that? I don't know if there's going to be great enough resolution on there, but on some angles, yeah, there you go. See, it's there's like a weird sort of matte coating around some of the edges of it, which isn't everywhere. Now, if that is actually on the front side as well, see where it goes matte? Because it shouldn't be matte, should it? Gonna do what Mum used to do when I was a kid. Wipe your finger with a bit of spittle. Yeah, it does feel that there's something come off there. Is that? See if I can get the angle right. So you can see where I've cleaned that a little bit now, can't you? But yeah, there is like a weird sort of like a matte finish, but it's not everywhere. You can see around by the screw holes. It isn't quite as pronounced. Anyway, you get the general idea. So there you go. So we will be doing a review on this at some point, although I didn't want to dive straight into it because I was already having issues with my other system, so I didn't want to put a motherboard in and then have similar sort of problems and not be able to do benchmarks and stuff like that. So there you go. It's actually a really heavy motherboard. Very cool indeed. Oh, and also Mike's Unboxing embroidered t-shirts have come in. Got those were ordered. That was unbelievable. Ordered them on Monday or Tuesday and they turned up on Thursday. I was like, wow, that was quick. So as per usual, we will be doing some specials to some of you that are regular contributors and supporters of the channel, etc. Now we haven't got hundreds of them. We're talking 10 or more. So we can't be giving them out to everybody, but for those that make the extra effort and go the extra mile in terms of contributions and stuff, we will be reaching out. And obviously, depending on how things go, if we can get another deal on these t-shirts and there's still people that we feel which we should have given a t-shirt to but we haven't, then we will get more and kind of carry on the process. So you'll have something nice and cool to wear for the summer should it ever arrive. So there you go. Yes, I think that is solder flux. Seems to be, yeah, Rick H saying maybe a little dusting of conformal coating. Excuse me.
Do we have any?
For
You know who that is.
I can't see.
We would make that, have you?
Oh yeah,
We do,
yeah, I think so.
because you never wrote him on the board.
I know. I can't even see that. Oh, I can. Sorry. We're having a little conversation here. Carry on. Andy Archer saying, hi Mike, is it the conformal coating on the board that appears sticky? I think that's probably what it is. I'm pretty sure that is what it is. It's some sort of conformal coating. And my thoughts are that the conformal coating, I'm pretty sure conformal coating is relatively easy to scratch off or to remove. But obviously, if it's managed somehow to get onto the socket, that would then degrade the continuity between the pins. And being that that is the kind of the be all and end all, and especially seeing it as all to do with the USB chipset, which USB is kind of controlled from the processor for a lot of the ports on there, because they're USB 3.2 Gen 1 and Gen 2, which go directly to the CPU. So anyway, that was my thinking on it. So that is, yeah, it seems like it's all right now. It does seem that it's been absolutely fine. It hasn't crashed since I've removed the processor and put it back in again and disconnected all the power cables, put them all back in again. It's been fine. I then put in the PCI Express capture card, and touch wood, it's been absolutely fine. Mookie MC says, what MSI board was that? That was the B650 Carbon Wi-Fi. So yeah, I think that is basically where we're at. So yeah. Then this week there's been the ongoing saga with this ASUS ROG Strix board. Actually, before we start that, let's say hello to the user in the chat, because I haven't started doing that yet.
Yeah, pause.
And I should do. I haven't paused for breath. I should do. I'm still suffering from this cold a little bit, so if I do have to go and have a cough or whatever, or a drink, you will excuse me, but I've got no choice. And the amount of drinking I'm doing, I might have to go and take a pee as well. Anyway, so Rick H is with us. How you doing, Rick? Ugly Bob is with us also. Mr. Bodie, William Bodie, God bless him. It's not showing all the chat in here again for some reason. Oh, anyway.
Can I just ask you something?
You can.
Victor has asked a question. How do you stop game stuttering?
Stopping game stuttering is either extremely easy or extremely problematic. The easiest thing to do is turn on VSync. Turn on VSync on your monitor, and almost in, I would say, 90% of cases, that will resolve it. It will lower your frame rates, but it will reduce stutter. And realistically, your monitor cannot display more frames than it is designed to do anyway, without weird stuff going on, so VSync is probably the way to go. The other side of the coin requires a lot more depth and investigation, which is a little bit too much for us to go through on a stream, but we do have the Discord, which is exactly the right place to go for that sort of thing. So we can go through in detail, find out more about your system, find about what games it is, whether it's all games, some games, etc. What's Kath doing? Am I out of sync?
I don't know. Matthew Day said you were a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Right, anyway, moving on. So, William Bodie, yes, we said. Dutch Jan, how you doing? O'Reilly, coming with that £10 super chat. Bless you, sir. There was some other super chats as well, but it seems to have come off my screen. I don't know why. I hate YouTube sometimes. David Underhill says, postal workers don't strike in Australia. Why? No one would tell the difference. Boom.
Not here, to be honest.
No. I haven't really noticed it.
They were putting all pictures out at Christmas, weren't they, of this strikes and stuff. And yeah, if you look up Christmas 2021,
Exactly
the same photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Apart from these, this year it was outside, last year it was inside.
Welly Bob says, a fine February evening to one and all. Hi, Welly Bob. Who else we got? Lucky Man, we said. Glenn's with us. How you doing, Glenn? From those Scottish Highlands. Hopefully it's a bit warmer out there these days. Nick Barnes is with us. Dutch Jam, we've said. David Underhill, yes. Mookie MC, how you doing? Nick Barnes has said. Nicholas Barlow, how you doing, Nicholas? Ordinary Dude is with us, taking some time off work. Good for you. It's not all work, you know. Some of you who are old enough will recognise that thing from an advert. Wild Bill's with us. Evening Mike Cath and the Peanut Gallery. Aletta's with us as well. How you doing, Aletta, the Vampire Queen? Stuart Cleary says, good evening, you fine tech aficionados. Ugly Bob says, don't forget to leave a like or dislike on the video. It doesn't matter one way or the other, it is still engagement and it proves that you're actually a human being. So if you want to dislike away. It's all good for the algorithm, bizarrely. Kieran Atkinson Wood is with us as well. The problem child. Kieran's responsible for this board, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If I had hair, I would have ripped it out by now. Who else we got? Mookie MC. Mookie MC says, a partial apology. This should be interesting. I'll be honest. You guys know me. If I've said something wrong, or I've done something wrong, or I've said something which is not entirely accurate, then I will retrace my steps and I will make it public, because I think that is only the right thing to do.
But not towards me.
But not towards Kath, no. If I say something wrong to Kath and then I'm obviously wrong, it's like, no. What do you mean?
Bless you.
Anyway, moving on. Hamza is with us, says, hey Mikey. How you doing, Hamza? Dutch Jan is with us, I think I said that already. Nicholas Barlow, yes. Mike P, how you doing, Mike P? And Mark Point. How you two doing, Mark MC? We see you and hear you. Good stuff. See how bad things get. Hamza says, most underrated Discord server. Join it, guys, if you need any tech help. Yes, but when he says any tech help, like preferably just easy stuff, because the difficult stuff is like hard work and it makes my head hurt, or makes me have to go away and cry in my pillow for a little bit and then come back. Kev's with us, says, I see CCL in the title and I sigh. Now this puts me in a really weird position, because CCL and their parent company have kind of, well, we've been introduced, let's say, by a mutual friend of the channel, and they've kind of offered to, well, to speak with us to see how they can help us and how we can help them in a mutual way to obviously promote CCL, and also, I guess, for us to have more products to be able to show you guys, which is kind of like a win-win situation, I guess. So that was around about Christmas time. I think it was just slightly after Christmas, or maybe just slightly before. So it was kind of a bit on the back burner, and I'd said that we'd kind of have some kind of telephone call or Skype chat or Zoom, whatever, and try and work something out. And since that conversation, we'd got this motherboard, which actually, let's grab the motherboard now and we'll get on with this, because I guess that's why a lot of you are actually here, because you want to know more about this. And this really confuses the shit out of me. Like, I've been doing this PC tech stuff since what year did we get married? 96. So since 1996, I've been basically destroying computers in one way, form or another. So I've learned a few things over the years, as you do. But there are new platforms and different technologies and methodologies which can catch you out from time to time. And I'm fully aware of that, and if I've done something wrong, then I will put my hands up and say, sorry, I'm an idiot, I've learned, I won't do that again. Again, not if it's something that Kath said I've done. So anyway, Kieran on our Discord basically had this board, is using it, but he was kind of doing a side grade or downgrade, or I can't remember exactly what it was now, and was basically offering this board up pretty cheap. So I hadn't at that time had a B660 motherboard. It seemed like a good value for money proposition. Kieran's always selling off stuff really cheap, so he's top lad in that respect. So I figured, yeah, it'd be a good idea. And do you know what? I just thought for a minute there, I've actually sussed out what it is, but it isn't. I've just noticed the chassis fan number 1, the top pin is actually quite bent, but it's not actually touching. Let me show you on the camera if I can. This will be interesting to see if we can actually focus on this. I can't really see what is on the screen actually. So, there we go. So just there. Can you see the pin? So that pin is a little bit bent. It's not actually touching the other one, so it isn't like the end of the world, but it was actually a little bit bent. Now, whether that was me that did that, or whether that was CCL, or whether that was Kieran, no one's ever going to know. So, anyway. I just thought I'd point out whilst we were live, just in case someone zoomed in for some bizarre reason and said, "There's a bent pin on the board, you bastard. It's all your fault." Which would be understandable. Anyway, so moving on. So got the board. At the same time, I wanted to get, obviously, a processor to go with it. Kieran actually offered to sell the processor that was on the board at the time, which I believe was a 12600, possibly. I'm not sure. But long story short, didn't go with that. So I ordered myself a 13400F from Amazon, I think that was. And obviously got the processor. Motherboard arrived, so as you'd expect, what you'd normally do, grab your processor, put it on the board, and then think to myself, actually, I don't know what BIOS is on here. So, in the interests of human technology and involvement, I figured, why not just do the BIOS flash, make a video, kill two birds with one stone, because I need to do it anyway. I might as well record the process for posterity and for views and money, etc. We've got to make money here, that's how we manage to feed ourselves, so got to be done. So I did the BIOS flash. The BIOS flash didn't take very long at all. It took about 2 minutes, and the BIOS light just flashed and flashed and flashed. So I'm like, okay, I've not used a 13th gen board before, a 12th gen board, so I don't know if this is how it's meant to be. I don't know. I've got no other point of reference to know if that is right or not. It seemed that it was doing what it should have done. It turned off at the end, etc., etc. Something weird when I noticed when I was doing the BIOS flash is I went to plug in an HDMI into the back here, which was stupid at the time because I didn't even have a processor which was capable of using that, but I forgot about it and I didn't have a graphics card in, so I was just like, ooh, put it in, you know. And as I touched the HDMI lead into the HDMI port, even though the system was off and there wasn't a processor in it, I think at the time, not sure, may have been, may have not, I'm not entirely sure, don't quote me to that. But the system sprang to life. Like there was some sort of weird short going on. So I was like, oh shit, that's weird. Didn't think too much of it because it happens from time to time. It's one of those things. So yeah, long story short, put the CPU in, got it all set up, and absolutely nothing. Or at least no output on the screen. And there's diagnostic LEDs on here, which are up in this corner, which we'll see later when I fire this up. There's one LED that comes on for CPU, then it goes to VGA, then it goes to RAM. Then the RAM initializes, then it'll go to VGA, then it'll go to boot if there's no operating system installed. Or if there's a problem at any one of those points, it will stop on the LED and it won't go any further. That's the point of diagnostic LEDs. So when I first started it came on, CPU light, flashed on, flashed off, rebooted, came on, turned off, went to RAM, then that turned off, and then nothing. No lights, no VGA light, no nothing, and no display. Graphics card not doing anything at all. The fans were spinning exactly the same as they were from the moment I turned it on, which is normally a sign that it's not working. Because normally when you initialize your VGA card, and when you first turn it on, the fans spin fast, then they basically stop or slow down. So yeah, it was very weird. So I'd done all the usual things, tried different RAM, tried 3 or 4 different power supplies, various configurations of RAM, single stick, 2 sticks, different brands, etc, etc. Reseated the CPU numerous times. Basically stripped it down to the bare essentials, even took off things like the metal shieldings, all that kind of stuff. And basically it just would not boot up. You'd always get the same thing. CPU light would come on, then the RAM light would come on, the RAM light would turn off, and that was it, game over. So I figured, well, I spoke to Kieran, he said, no, the board was absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with it, been using it for ages, boxed it up, sent it to you, job done. So I'm thinking, well, it's not unheard of, but it's unlikely to be the CPU, but being as I bought it from Amazon, 30-day returns, etc, etc, I was kind of thinking that I should have gone with the 13500 anyway, rather than the 13400. So I thought, well, I'll take advantage of the situation. I need to get a processor with integrated graphics on it anyway, just to make sure that it's not something weird going on with the PCI Express bus. So got the 13500. Got it, arrived, done exactly the same thing, and exactly the same results. Almost, well, religiously, it was like a mirror image. So at this point I'm thinking, well, for 2 processors to be faulty is unheard of. Now potentially the BIOS didn't take. I'll stand up to that. So flashed the BIOS again, got it out, done it all again, and reflashed it. I reflashed the old BIOS back onto it, then the new BIOS, and various BIOSes in between. Long story short, again, no processor would work. Now at this point I didn't have a 12th gen processor, which potentially I suppose is something which I should have looked into. But ultimately, motherboard under warranty, 2 new processors, which in theory should work with a BIOS flash, would not work, which was repeatable numerous times. And obviously, like, this isn't my first rodeo. I've installed processors and set up systems before. I've even recovered motherboards with damaged BIOSes, so I kind of know the steps that you would normally take in diagnosing a problem. I didn't have enough processors, which was something which in hindsight now, I wish I'd have had a 12th gen processor on hand to test with, because then if that had worked, I could be like, So it doesn't like 13th gen for some reason. So went back to Kieran, said, look, the board, I cannot get this to work for love nor money. Is it under warranty? Blah, blah, blah. So we've got the warranty details sorted out. Got in contact with CCL. They arranged an RMA, so packed it all away nicely and sent it back. Now, when I sent it back, because the shield for the CPU socket was an ASUS one, a Gigabytes one from an Aurora board, I put some of this black tape on to hold it in place because it didn't quite fit, it was popping off. So I thought, I know what manufacturers are like. If you put a board in for RMA and it hasn't got the socket cover on, they're just going to throw it out regardless. They're going to say no, pins are damaged, etc, etc. I didn't want to take that risk, so I used some black tape and basically stuck it on in a very peculiar way, and I made very specific note of how I put it on, which seems weird, but you'll kind of understand why. So motherboard went back to CCL, and after a week or so they came back to Kieran and said, we've tested the board, it's absolutely fine. So at this point I'm like, well, I'm really confused now, because I could not get anything out of it. So I said, Kieran, can you ask them to test it with a 13th gen processor, because I tried using 13th gen, I cannot get it to work. Please try and find out what processor they've used, etc, etc. So they've gotten back, tested it with, I believe it was a 13th gen, maybe a 900 or 13700K, I can't remember. I've probably got it on email somewhere. But they've tested it, done burn-in tests, etc, claimed that it was all working fine. So we obviously bowed down to their superiority with parts availability and testing and said, okay, send it back. So got it back, I believe it was Thursday. Yes, Thursday I think it was. Yeah. And I was really hesitant about testing it, but I knew that they'd claimed that the board had worked, so happy days. So got the processor in there, got it all done, fired up, and it was exactly the same with the 13500. At this point, I'm losing the will to live. I'm still suffering from this cold. I've got a headache, everything's pounding. You know what it's like when you got a cold, you don't always make the best, most rational decisions, and you're a little bit cloudy. So I went over everything again numerous times, making sure that everything was okay. And it's like, yeah, everything is done as it should be. I cannot understand why this is not working. Tried combinations of graphics cards, no graphics cards, RAM, no RAM. The weird thing is, if I don't put a CPU in, I get the CPU error light. If I don't put RAM in, I get the RAM error light. But I can never ever get past that point. I don't know why. Very confusing. So, O'Reilly says, laugh my ass off. Like, sorry, Mike, I can't help but laugh at the pain. It is just painful. So, at this point, I'm starting to lose my shit a little bit. So, I've messaged Kieran and said, look, the board, I don't know I don't know what to say. It's still not working. At this point, I thought, well, I'll maybe slightly try and take advantage of the situation I've got where...
You slept on it first and then...
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's right, yeah. I did sleep on it. I thought, I'm not going to do anything rash because I'm not making the clearest of decisions.
And then you put the short out.
I'll sleep on it. I did the short, trying to get some feedback from people. Bless him, Graham from Adamant IT have reached out and said if you get problems with it or CCL can't do it, send it to me and I'll flash the BIOS for you if that's what needs doing. Glenn, that is a very good idea. Thank you for the super chat. Glenn says take it out, take it to a letter, send it to a letter, take it out the back and shoot. That is a very good idea. We should definitely do that. Thank you, Glenn. 420 blazing. Come on, light. Turn off. That light's filthy. I need to clean that.
Cleaned it once already.
Look at that. I cleaned it once when I got it, almost.
No, with that. We cleaned it with that, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that's true, yeah. Right, so now we're getting to the point where I've slept on it, I've reached out to other people. I haven't slept on the board, obviously, because it's just got full of pins and I'd be like, ooh, not good. So Friday comes around and I reached out to our contact at the parent company of CCL and said, look, I'm having a real nightmare with this motherboard. Is there anybody I can actually speak to, a human being, so I can just have a one-to-one or whatever? This is a very, very weird problem and I don't understand it. Now, I actually spoke to somebody at CCL in a telephone conversation because I was waiting for the email to come back and I thought, sod it, I'll just phone CCL, see what happens. Because obviously, in theory, if I'm going to be working with them in some capacity, it would be nice to see what their after-sales service is like. So let's just be a customer. Let's just phone them up and try and resolve this without having to go through any back channels, which was okay-ish. The weirdest thing was I found the customer support number, and the first thing which really just irked me was the answer of the telephone, which sounds like stupid, but it was like, CCL, not really curt.
Not how can I help?
Yeah, not like, good afternoon, this is CCL customer support, how can I help you? Just those little things, which pleasantries, you know, it doesn't cost anything. Anyway, moving on. So discussed it with them, said, look, this is the deal. I've sent it back to you. Like, I do this for a kind of living almost. It's really confusing. I don't understand what is going on. And they're saying, yeah, we look at the logs. Yeah, we've run it with this processor, that processor. We've done the burn-in test, all this other stuff. And it's like, I don't understand it. It will not work with a 13400F or a 13500, which are both 13th gen. And they claim to have used it on a 13th gen and it done all the burn-in tests. And I did notice when it came back that it appeared that my piece of tape was in exactly the same position that I'd left it. I did actually leave it in a specific way so I could tell if it had been moved. Now, either they moved it in such a way, or when they put it on there, it was just complete luck that they managed to get it back into the exact same position, which is possible, I suppose. I did actually mention on the telephone, so to the person I spoke to on the telephone, I probably sounded like an absolute twat, because I said, look, I put tape on there deliberately to see if it had actually been touched or not, and it's in exactly the same place. I'm not saying you didn't look at it, but it's in the same place. So my thoughts are that no one touched it. It was just sat around in a box for a week, or, well, for almost a month, I guess it was, until they decided to send it back, which is a bit of a dick move. So, hand on heart, I apologise for saying that. I wasn't thinking straight, and also I was just being a twat. And I apologise for that, genuinely. So if anyone from CCL was watching this, and you're in customer service and you spoke to me, I apologise. I was being an idiot. I shouldn't have said that. It was one of those dick moves, but I was angry. And I think we all get there, and I think it'd probably be representative of other people phoning with problems. You do, you get frustrated and you take out your frustrations. I'm only a human being. But I am apologising for that. So if it was you, my apologies. Anyway, so long story short, again, it's not really long story short. I don't know why I keep on saying that. I'm making the story longer by saying that. They agreed and said, look, this is a really weird problem. We'll take it back. Give us the, we'll send the board back. If they can't sort it, we'll send it back to ASUS and get them to have a second opinion on it, like another inspection. So I'm like, thank you. That is excellent. Please, I think that is the best way forward. We'll just get another RMA, we'll send it back to you and see what the deal is. So that was towards the end of yesterday. Now, in my daily driver over there, I've got an Intel B760 board, the Tomahawk. And we're in a really fortunate position that MSI sent us over a processor to test it, which is the i9-3900K. I hadn't tested that processor on this board, but I thought, right, I don't want to leave this as it is. I've got the opportunity. It's going to be about 2 hours worth of work to strip down my system and to do this, but I will feel in my heart of hearts that I've done everything possible to validate that 13th gen processors do not work on this platform. So, took out the processor, blah, 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 done all the coolers, etc. Put it in there, thinking this is not going to work. What do you know? It works. I was speechless, gobsmacked. Now, in fairness, XMP profiles do not work very well with it. I've got some RAM up there, which was from William Bodie, which is the Trident G-Skill 4266. Put that on there, set the XMP, it refused to reboot. It was basically completely dead. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm aiming for the sky a little bit with the 4266. So I've got some 3600 RAM, put that in there. Again, would not take XMP 3600. I had to reduce the speeds down to 3200, and then I could get a consistent reboot and it would go back in, and it appeared that everything was fine. This was using the onboard graphics, also using a separate graphics card. So I'm at the point now where this motherboard appears to work with the 13900K, the 13700K, but will not work with the 13500 or the 13400. I'm so confused. If it was a BIOS issue, in theory, none of 13th gen would work. So I guess what I'm asking for now from anyone out there is, have you got the architectural knowledge of these processors that you could say wholeheartedly there is a significant difference between the 13400 and the 13500 over the 13700 and 900, other than the obvious difference of being core count and efficiency cores? I think realistically, architecturally, I'm sure they're the same chip or the same architecture. The 13500 I would say more so, because the 13400 is kind of like a refreshed version of the 12600. So is there any logical, obvious reason why a 13500 wouldn't work, but yet a 13700 or 900 would? Please, please, if there is a logical architectural reason why that should not work on a B660 chipset, please, I am begging you, let me know, because I am so beyond confused with this. It's just ridiculous. Now I have got the board here, I've got the processors here, so if you want me to actually fire this up so you can see it for yourselves, I am more than happy to do it. And I was prepared. That is basically, I've taken this out of my rig, which is dead at the moment. So I've done it for that particular reason. I've tried numerous BIOS flashes with the new processor that works. So I've updated the BIOS and I've downgraded the BIOS with the 13900K on here working. And I've tried this board with both BIOS versions with the older processor or the newer processor, whichever way you want to look at it, and it refuses to work. My theory is that there's something in the ASUS BIOS where the microcode has not got the 13500 actually properly embedded in the code. That's the only reason I can think of in my mind.
What did they say they tested with?
I'm sure they said they tested with a 13700K or maybe a 13900K. If Kieran's in the chat, he might have the emails to hand, in which case he could validate that, but I don't know. I don't know. Ordinary Dude says non-K13th gen maxes out at DDR4 3466. Thank you for that. I wasn't aware of that.
Get rid of the message as well.
Let's get rid of the message. So there we go. Glenn says you'd need to try a 12th gen before I'd have a stab at the cools. Lol. Yeah, that is, again, it's a very weird thing. It seems that all 12th gens work on it. because Kieran had 12th gen working on it. I can't remember the email from CCL, but I'm sure they tried a 12th gen and a 13th gen of a relatively high core count. So yeah, I'm really... Andy Archer says, looks like you need another 13th board to test the CPU. The CPU works in that system. Both my processors work absolutely fine on the MSI B660 Tomahawk. No, 760 Tomahawk. Because that's the 13th gen board. It's bound to work. It's designed to work with it. So, I don't know. Simon Alden says the B660M-A Wi-Fi non-Strix 100% works with the 13400F. Got loads taken Polycom orders with BIOS. Okay. William Bodie says, question, will you do a BIOS update here in the stream before you do anything else? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Dave Aitken comes in with a super chat for £5, says, only big shots have a spare 13900K lying around for testing purposes. How the other half live, eh? I wish that was the case. I was just incredibly fortunate that MSI, I guess they probably just thought I was somebody else and said, would you like to use this process for testing with your motherboard? But having said that, it has proved a very valuable lesson that the MSI B760 motherboard actually does work great with the 13900K, and it gets some absolutely stellar numbers. And I've actually managed, I did a Cinebench run last night, and I managed to draw 400 watts package power from that motherboard. That has got some serious VRMs going on it. I don't know how it managed to do it. 400 watts package power. 400 watts for a processor. That's nuts. That's like a 1490. Absolutely insane. So,
Mookie says, yeah. Did you review the tech sheet on confirmed CPU and RAM configurations?
Did you review the tech sheet on confirmed? Well, yes, it does say on the ASUS website. I've gone in there for CPU compatibility, and that processor, the 13500, is compatible with BIOS version 1620 onwards. Nick Barnes, did the 13400 work in the editing PC? Yes, they did. All the processors that I've had work in the video editing PC. Which is why I thought it was really weird, because I thought, well, I'll just try it on there and see what happens. Weirdly, the 13900K works, it seems to work fine on this platform, but the 13500 and the 13400 don't. And I cannot get my head around that. That does not make any sense. Because if it was a BIOS revision, then the 13900K shouldn't work either. So, I don't know. It's very, very confusing. Very confusing. I honestly don't get it. That is why I'm doing this stream. I'm hoping in my heart of hearts that someone will try and say, this is what you need to do, or this is what is wrong, or this is why it doesn't work. I think that's what I want to know, why it doesn't work. I don't care if it works or not, really. I just want to know why it doesn't work. It's the why that interests me. Yeah. While Bill says, I would say the board is the problem, not the CPU. The CPU works fine. Both CPUs work fine in another rig. So there is definitely something with this particular board, or the Strix B660-A in general, that the microcode doesn't work.
Look at Adam.
Adam?
Adam N.
Mike's unboxing. Nice one.
That's cool.
I'll put that up on the screen, that's good. So, I don't know. I'm really confused. It's very, very... Simon Arden, what RAM was it? I've used various RAM. I've used the V-Color DDR4 3200. I've used the V-Color Prism 3600. I've also used the G-Skill 4266 and the Thermaltake Tough RAM 3600. But weirdly, it doesn't ever stop on RAM. It goes past RAM but doesn't display an output? I don't get it. I really don't. Dennis says, can I use the 13 series chipset with MSI Mag B660M? You can do, but you'll probably need a BIOS update.
Walking OSF?
When benchmarking, I would love to be able to benchmark.
No,
13600KF emits high-pitched noise on ASUS Prime B660M-K. What could be the culprit? That'd be the VRMs. The M-K boards are not really designed for that kind of load on them. The 13th gen processors do pull back a lot of power. You probably find you need to turn on your limits. So if you, in the BIOS, when you set up the cooling fan, set it as the box cooler, and I'll pretty much guarantee the noise will go away. If you've got it set to tower cooler or water cooler, it's just going to go full throttle, balls to the wall, and just draw as much power as it can. And the VRMs on that board are not up to the task at all. Mookie MC says, are you sending the board back for testing then? Well, ideally I would prefer not to. They have given me an RMA number, and a postage label to send back. I'm going to show you what it does, because talking about it doesn't really explain what is going on, I don't think.
Michael says, have you tried a 13600?
I haven't tried a 13600. I don't own a 13600 to be able to test with, I'm afraid. Which, that is also part of my problem, that I don't really have the amount of processors to be able to test it reliably.
Looked at the socket to make sure there is nothing damaged.
I have, but the fact that the 13900 works would, if there was something wrong with the socket, I don't know, I would say that neither processor should work if that was the case.
How many yellow sticker tuna mayos could you buy with the money it costs for a 10-minute R23 run at 400 watt?
Quite a lot. I have actually, that was with the settings uncapped. I have since then, I would recommend actually anybody who's got an Intel processor, 13th or 12th gen, don't run your system with it saying that you've got a water cooler in the BIOS. It's just pointless. You're just pissing money and energy down the drain. Just set it to box cooler and live a happy life. The 13900K on a 240 AIO, when it's set to stock cooler, still gets 35,000 points in Cinebench and only gets to like 77 degrees, which is fine.
Which CPU would you recommend? i5 13600K or i7 12700K?
I'd probably go with the newer one. Go with the 13600. Always blow the socket, so to speak, because you never know.
Look at that tuna mayo sandwich coming out and getting on there.
Now there is some discoloration on the bottom of this CPU, but it works in the other board, so I'm ruling that out. Now I'm trying not to drop this into the socket, so give it a little wiggle, make sure it's in. Let's see, let's highlight that a little bit and give you the overhead.
Mookie's looking forward to it completely working fine.
I'm looking forward to it working fine. That'd be bloody amazing. So that is in there.
You can damage a socket and it will still post and run, but the CPU will have defects.
Yeah. So that is under adequate tension there. No problems at all. So let's get the rest of it fired up and see what we can do. So power supply wise, I'm just going to use a 450 watt here. There's no real need for anything more than that. And again, I have tried it with numerous different power supplies and they've all done the same thing, which is not entirely surprising. Now something which did occur to me is I've been doing this with the stock cooler. I don't think that's going to make a difference, but That is something which, in the back of my mind, made me think, well, maybe it's the cooler. Maybe I'm not getting enough pressure on the socket. But then the other one worked, so it's, yeah.
Can you look at Michael's question? Not question, statement.
Michael, the 13600, 400 and 500, according to the info I'm seeing at ASUS CPU support, all short something common that's different from the other 13th gen. Under stepping, it says C0. Michael, Bobski. I'll call you Bobski, Michael, I'm sorry. But that is interesting, so the step-in is different.
And then underneath, the other Gen 13 CPUs all have a different designation.
So that is... yeah, so maybe it is something in the BIOS which doesn't take into account the step-ins, maybe. I don't know. It's very, very confusing. It's super frustrating, especially when you pride yourself with being someone who has a reasonable amount of knowledge. Like, I hate to sound like Kerry Holzman here, but I have been doing this for like 30 plus years. This shouldn't be as difficult as it is. And I'm wholeheartedly blaming Kieran for this. Right, let's get this socket in there.
Have you got one of those plastic tension leveler?
I don't have a tension leveler. Well, I do. I've got a metal one. I'm tempted to try that, but again, I don't know if the other processor works. In terms of like flatness or whatever, a processor is a processor. Do you know what I mean?
Mike Bob, you can call him.
Mike Bob. Right, I'm just going to put a little bit of thermal paste on there because this is only for testing purposes. A bit pointless wasting it, to be honest, but it ain't going to work anyway. So I'm going to make sure I plug it into the CPU header before someone says, you haven't plugged into the CPU header. And I'm just going to place this on. I'm not going to put any tension on it. I don't want to put any extra pressure on it, just as long as it's physically making some contact with this. Yeah, there is a little bit of contact. Maybe a little bit more might be needed, actually. O'Reilly. What's O'Reilly saying? Seems Intel have fused the digital linear voltage regulator to be disabled in 13th gen Intel chips. It seems to be ASUS BIOS might still have a setting value for it. Basically, ASUS forgot to remove the digital linear voltage regulator settings from their BIOS. Now that is interesting. As is what Hugh said. Hi all, you might try installing a beep speaker on the board to see if you can get a beep code. That is genius level. Let's have... I don't really want to attach the cooler properly. Yeah, looks like I have now. I didn't wind those back.
Have you updated the ME to match?
No, because you can only update the ME from in Windows. You can't update the ME via BIOS flashback, sorry. I did want to do that. O'Reilly's one actually does seem to be... that does make sense. I wonder if there's a beta BIOS. Really Random Review says, I would defo try a speaker to listen for codes. I got one somewhere. I don't know where I put it though. Right, I need a monitor. Oh, I packed away Bob's monitor. That was a silly mistake, wasn't it? I got one of these boxed ones here, that'll do. Alrighty says it would explain why other Intel chips with a working digital linear voltage regulator will boot, because the BIOS flashing might make the DLVR enabled by default. Good point. Ghost Adder's in the chats. Says nice mouse pad. Don't thank me, thank William Bodie. He was the smart cookie who got that. Does the motherboard have a switch for the BIOS, says Roliv. No, it doesn't. Well, not in terms of like a dual BIOS or anything. Right, I need that one, I want that one, and I want that one. Plug that into the USB. Right, if I put that somewhere there, that might just about be visible. Yeah, you guys can see that, awesome. I'll just drop my mic.
Drop the mic.
Watch me drop the mic, psych. Mike's unboxing. You can join today. Right. There is laws against that. Right. Currently, we've got no RAM installed. So diagnostic D-LEDs are down in this corner, which you can't see because I've got some stuff there. Okay. There we go. So diagnostic LEDs there. So in theory now, if I turn this on, this should get to the point where it recognises the CPU but hangs on RAM. Am I right? I think I am. So I'm going to turn that on. Who do you think you are? And let's do jump start. Hello?
Bang!
Oh, don't be an idiot. Ah, there we go.
Sorry.
Right, so it's gone straight from CPU to the to RAM. So you can see that. If I turn this off,
What's that monitor?
turn this back on, and it'll just start up. So it went red from CPU, immediately went from CPU to DRAM. So that means that there's no RAM installed, which we know because you can see physically there isn't any. So let's grab some RAM off the shelf. Oh, dropped it again. A rally, don't encourage her. Rolly said that scared me. It scares me. I'm the one messing around with this stuff. So I'm going to try just a single stick to begin with, because as part of the diagnostic process, you want to try and limit things as much as you possibly can. So now I've turned this back on. 5-volt power is drained, so it's not going to start by itself, so I can jump start there.
Can you tell?
There we go. So CPU, RAM, the RAM should initialize. There we go. And now we are looking for a HDMI output. But the lights have gone out. Can you see that? There's no lights.
Can you tell War King? I've put the link to the video in the... because they want...
War King says thank you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, War King, there's a link to the video in the chat.
Links will be in that description.
Scared your way shut. Okay, so there we go. So in theory at the moment now, this has booted because all of our diagnostic LEDs are extinguished, but the CPU fan is still at the same speed, which means that that hasn't kicked in. So the logic in the board to control the PWM signal has stopped at some point. And of course we've got no display on our little monitor here. So clearly that has not worked. So we're going to turn it off. I'm going to take out the RAM from slot 2 and I'm going to try it now in slot 4, just out of morbid curiosity. Clicks into place. I'm going to turn it back on. Power supply is switched on. And now we're going to jump start again. There we go. CPU. It went to RAM. RAM should initialize. RGB's on. All of the LEDs have gone out. And again, we have no output on the HDMI. So that is basically where I'm at.
Did you try one RAM stick?
Yes.
Sorry, Andy lost the...
Yeah, Andy, yeah, I've done it with one. I'm going to turn it off now because obviously there is a memory controller in this. So I'm going to try it with both sticks in there just to complete the circuit for dual channel. In theory, it shouldn't make a difference, but out of curiosity, let's try it. So HDMI initializing, or at least power from the USBs, so we know it's getting power. RAM is initialized, both channels, and the diagnostic LEDs have gone out. So at this point we should have an output. There should be something on the screen, but there isn't. And also the fan is at exactly the same speed, so that means that the board has not initialized past the basic RAM test. William Bodie says try with a GPU. Yep, I can try that. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and look a minute for a BIOS speaker. So I'm sure I've got one here somewhere. Where is another matter, but I'm sure I've got one. So luckily my microphone has a slightly longer lead on it today, so I can travel to the other side of the room. And is there a BIOS speaker in there? It doesn't appear so. BIOS speaker, where are you? I wonder if actually there might be one in. Excuse me. Is there one in here? Sorry, just having a look through my drawer. Not my drawer, my little thing of screws. Right. Where have I seen one? I literally the other day I was going through some stuff, tidying up. I was like, oh, there's a BIOS speaker. That'd be dead handy. I'll need that one day. And where did I put it? Where would I put it? There's so much crap here. It could be anywhere. No idea. It'll turn up when I don't need it. Right, let's grab ourselves a graphics card anyway, as per Mr. Bodie's instruction, and see what we can get out of a separate card. Now I've got an older card here, Aero ITX 1030, so this obviously doesn't need any power or anything. So
PC Dutch Jam CPU RAM lanes broken, try RAM A1.
Yeah, we can try that. The thing is, the other processor works. This is what I'm trying to get at. The other processor works fine. Not sure if I have tried this actually. RAM initialize. So at this point, you're supposed to get a white light there, or a green light, then a white. So I think it goes yellow. No, it goes red, yellow, green, white, if I remember rightly. So again, that doesn't work. I'll try it in the other slot as well. I'll try it in slot 3, just out of again, morbid curiosity. We're at a point here where I'm quite willing to try basically anything.
My pants, can you answer that one?
My pants, okay, you see
I'm
it.
a bit late to this, so I don't know what you've tried. I presume you cannot get into the BIOS at all.
I can get into the BIOS with another processor, but I can't get into the BIOS with this CPU. And it does appear that this CPU and another 13th Gen 400 will not load.
Kieran says put an SSD into just grasping at the rules. Johnny Pay.
I could. That's not a bad idea.
A quick search suggests trying slot B1. Hey B1.
Yep. So I basically tried every slot now on its own and with something else. Matthew Day says, what are the 5-character spec IDs of the CPUs? I'm not sure. Can you see that? Is that coming out on the screen? Shearer. I had a similar failure a while back. Ended up was monitor not getting signal from HDMI, but leaving it till booted display come on. Yes, I know. Yeah, I've had that before. Where it won't get. You cannot get to the BIOS screen. It will only wait until Windows is in. So actually, let's try that. I'll put in our well, I'll put the graphics card in because that was the next thing on the list to try. I'll put the RAM in the appropriate slots for now. I'll just try this again, just out of, again, I'm just clutching at straws now. So RAM initialization, and then nothing. So I guess now we could try putting in a M.2 drive with an operating system on. So even if for some reason it's not displaying a BIOS image or a post or anything, at least it should, in theory, try and at least boot into Windows. In the ideal scenario. So this is my NV2 drive. This actually has a full Windows installation on it, so if anything's going to work, it should be this, he says. I love those little clasps, they're awesome. I won't bother putting the heat shield back on, it's a bit pointless, I think. It's never going to get warm enough, I don't think. Although it'd be interesting to see if it does actually get any warmth going to it at all. There we go. So, no, there's basically no warmth coming through the drive. Like, you should feel at least a little bit of warmth coming through. Absolutely nothing. Oh, actually, tell a lie, there's a little bit of warmth there. Anyway. Dennis says, can you film a video about BIOS flash update on MSI Mag B660M mortar DDR4 for 13th gen CPUs? I'm not sure if I can. I will see what I can do. I will speak to I'll speak to our friends at MSI and see if they've got a board I can lend to do that for you. I won't make any promises because obviously I'll be speaking for somebody else, but I'll see what I can do. William Bodie says, I did send a laser temp. Oh yes, you did. That's right, actually. Oh god. Right, let me, if I can show you. Let me see if I can. Right. Currently, the laser temp, you're going to love this. This is great. So, let's turn that around to there. I'm going to show you the laser temperature guide. So on the main camera there, hi. There's my computer down there. There is my tools and stuff in there. I've got this chair and the laser thing is right at the back there. So I'm not going to dig it out. I'm just going to go with my my finger for now, which seems to do the trick. But I might, saying that, I might actually get it out later for checking out the if there's any hot spots. Move that back to there. There we go. Look at the state of this desk. There's so much crap here. But you can't make an omelette without breaking some eggs, as they say. Right. So, what was the next? Oh, the graphics card. So clearly we've got no output on there. So let's stick a graphics card in and see what we get. And once we've gone through these vague steps, I'm going to put in the other processor and it will just boot up straight away. Which is why I'm so confused that we have to go through all this crap and testing. And the thing is, I want to do this so that you guys out there, and also CCL for whatever reason, and also ASUS if they get involved, I want them all to know that I've not just been like, I'm not just that customer, which is just getting aerated because they've done something wrong and it should work. It's not that sort of deal. Although I am starting to become that way. So HDMI now into our GPU. GPU's in place, latched in, etc. So we can turn back on the power and we'll give it some juice. He says, I always get the pins wrong on this. Why do ASUS put so many pins on? Let's give you the overhead so you can see that now. So there we go, initialize RAM. At this point we should then get a green LED for VGA and then a white one for boot. But again, we have absolutely nothing. So Riley's saying when you boot up with the other CPU, you can go into the BIOS and check the DLVR settings. If you could, now this is a bit cheeky, but can you try and find out where the DLVR settings are? Just to try and make my life a little bit easier here. Because I'm going to be doing it on a touchscreen, so I'm not going to be, well, it's not going to be straightforward, is it? So I think, let's go back to the main. So I think pretty much, I feel that I've covered pretty much every base here. So we've tried onboard graphics, we've tried external graphics, we've tried an M.2 drive just in case it wants to boot. We've tried the RAM in every single slot available, either on its own or in pairs. It's had the BIOS reset, etc, etc. We're getting the LEDs, so it seems like it's recognizing the CPU briefly. It then moves over to RAM, recognizes the RAM, it initializes the RAM because the RGB lights up, but it's the next part in the chain, the VGA initialization, that doesn't work, which is what really confused me at the beginning, because I thought, well, maybe it's just one of those things, it doesn't work with CPUs with onboard graphics or without onboard graphics, whichever the case may be. So that is why I went from the 13400F back to the 13500, which again, both processors work in another board. Oh, sorry, this processor, the 13400, I didn't have another board at the time, so I couldn't test that one, but the 13500 works absolutely fine, works all day long in my video editing rig. So there's nothing inherently wrong with the processor. The issue seems to definitely be lying with the board. I have changed the HDMI cable. Even without the HDMI cable plugged in, we should still get the LEDs saying VGA and that it's stuck in the BIOS screen, which I'll show you next actually. So let's turn this off now and strip down the build slightly. Take out the graphics card. I am going to pack away some of these things just because we're so limited on space here that if I don't, it's going to get very uncomfortable very quickly. Yeah, Poppy comes in and starts decided that she wants to have a bit of a lazy time on the mat. It's going to be bad. Yeah. So I don't know. I think at the moment, as far as tech is concerned, I'm thinking that Arale's idea about the digital load voltage regulators, or whatever they are, or linear voltage regulators, that actually does sound like a very potential likely thing to happen. But I can't even talk. You see, this is actually, this is draining. This is genuinely draining, because 13th gen is such a new thing, and it's not like in the AM4 days and the AM5, well, not AM5 days, but it's not like with like the B450 chipset. It was so widely adopted that you could search for basically anything and you'd find someone, at least one person with the same issue. But because this is all so new, and like the 13500 and the 400s only came out, I think, second week of January. So this is the second week of February. They've been at a month. So we don't have that kind of real depth of knowledge on the internet yet, where you can just go online and go, oh, yeah, I've had that problem. This is how you fix it. We aren't there yet. Which is a shame. I hate these clips. So, actually I'll leave that connected. Apologies, I have a cold. Some of Ugly Bob's Blue Roll. Very useful stuff.
CPU and power up should stop on CPU light.
Correct, it does. And if I remove the RAM, it stops on the RAM light. So the early part of the chipset initialization does seem to work. And it works reliably every single time. Let me try it now. So if I take the processor out.
Will this boot with DDR4 3200?
No. Yes, it will. It will boot with any RAM really, because until you apply the XMP, it doesn't try to run at those higher speeds anyway. where is my little case gone? There we go.
CPU in and do a BIOS update.
I've done loads of BIOS updates. Makes no difference whatsoever.
Updates and down dates.
I've done updates, down dates, sideways dates, you name it.
But not
I've used every single BIOS that the board has ever had released.
an update night.
And I did it in almost order of issue. If I turn this on now, I'll power this up, and we should get the CPU LED come on the board, or it might not even boot at all.
Have you cleared the CMOS?
There we go. So now we get nothing at all. The RAM's initialized though. In theory, that shouldn't have happened. So
Have you cleared the CMOS?
I have cleared the CMOS numerous times. I will clear it again just to be on. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to put the processor into the socket so as not to potentially damage any pins with any random bits of camera or lighting gear falling from the ceiling onto it, or even dust. Dust.
Done any blind dates?
I've done updates, down dates, you name it. So this is the 13900. Be very careful, dropping into the socket. There we go.
Hey Daisy.
Now this is going to get super hot super quick. So I'm really uncomfortable actually even having this platform on here. Especially with that box cooler, but it is kind of all I've got to work with at the moment. So
CCL does not do 13400F with pre-build, so I bet they tested with 13600F, which they do in pre-build.
is that from Simon?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that would make sense then.
Rough underside of CPU before fitting.
Oh right, yeah, I sometimes do that. William says, did you try another battery? I have tried another, funny enough actually, I have tried another battery. Yeah, that was something which crossed my mind because it was so weird. It's like, well, why does this not work? There's no logical reason why this should not work. And I did get to the point where I actually tried a new BIOS battery. I tried it without a BIOS battery. There's not really many things that I haven't tried. Oh, I didn't twist that back, did I? Right, I'm only doing 2 clips on this because, firstly, this clip on this side is a pain in the ass. Actually, I'm going to do it because I know someone's going to get a right tits on about it, aren't they, for the thing? Right, let's plug this in. So now we are in the 13900K. Basically, exactly the same setup. The only thing which is different is I've still left that shield off. And let's go Frisco. Actually, saying that, I've not got a keyboard and mouse plugged in. Is that on? Ah, there we go. Must be some grease on there. So now obviously we're looking, which camera are we on anyway? We're still on the overhead? Yeah, awesome. Or are we? No, we're not, we're on this one. So there we go, white light. And if I do the overhead now, there we go. And there we go, Republic of Gamers, we're in. AMI BIOS, and it's booted up first time. Albeit, it's running super, super hot straight away. Because it's like freaking out. It's like, oh my god, I'm getting so hot, I can barely manage. So, yeah, at this point I can press F1 to get into setup. Hopefully you can all see that on the screen. It's there. It makes sense. I'm going to turn it off because that's just running at full tilt. So, I don't know what to say. I'm super confused. There's no logical reason other than what O'Reilly said that it is something to do with that setting in the BIOS. Nick Barnes says if you clear the BIOS that will prevent 13th gen from starting up shortly. No, it's the BIOS is kind of hard coding, so it's, how can I explain it? It's almost like a chalkboard. So once you've actually painted a chalkboard and it's dried, you can write the chalk on there, and erasing it, it's still a chalkboard behind it. No matter what you do, when you write on it, scrub it off, etc., it's always going to be a chalkboard. And that's kind of how BIOS works. So you flash it, and it becomes a kind of a dedicated platform or canvas, I suppose you'd call it, and then you change your settings, and that's basically painting onto that canvas. Once you wipe the CMOS, that just clears the canvas back to what it was. Does that make any sense at all? I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, so I don't know. That CPU works. First time, every time. The 13500 doesn't, but the 13500 works in another board, so it isn't the processor. I don't know. I am I'm very, very confused. Michael says, I'd wager it'll boot with any 13th gen i3, i7 or i9 CPU, but not i5 for whatever reason, if it doesn't like the i5. Yeah, very possible. Riley says, there was suggestions that while Intel has initially disabled DLVR on 13th gen CPUs, there was the possibility Intel might have re-enabled LDVR for higher end CPUs only, and higher end CPUs have it enabled. So is it a motherboard thing or is it a processor thing?
And then Andy Archer tried connecting the keyboard and entering the BIOS to check the settings and reset it all.
Andy, I could do that, but it's basically reset anyway. The BIOS is at its default values. That is why that message come up on the screen. So it is currently at a its kind of beginning point.
Nick Barnes.
Nick Barnes, yes, understand, but it's a 12th gen BIOS, so flash to 13th, hence my comment, as someone said clear. Right, yeah. Yeah, your BIOS always stays kind of resident in the system, so if the motherboard came originally with a BIOS revision 1 and then you flash it to revision 2, that's kind of embedded into the firmware, so even if you do a factory reset, it will still go back to the latest BIOS version that you installed. Same as with like mobile phones. If you get an Apple phone, if you do a factory reset, it doesn't take you back to the first time you got it out of the shop. It takes you to a fresh version of the current installed version of iOS. Hopefully that makes sense. I think that's just, yeah, because iOS updates, much like firmware updates, are both hardware and software level upgrades. William Bodie says, look at Smacky's text, please. Where is that?
It's above.
Oh. BIOS 1620 is the one you need. Well, I've got... Let me see what is on my USB stick. I think 1620 is what is currently on there. Or it might be a slightly older one. Or was it... I think it might be 12 something. Let me have a look. I'm just going to stick it into my computer here and see what is on this drive. I could try 1620. I think I already did though. But I'm... oh, where's my mouse gone? So the one I'm on currently is 1215. So let's try that then. So I'm going to go on to... So I'm going to try to... ASUS. Right, let's get you onto the desktop camera. There we go. Can you guys see the screen okay? Hopefully you can. I can't at the moment. Where's the mouse gone? Right. So let's close down that window. So just for clarity and my own sanity, this is the right motherboard, isn't it? ROG Strix. Why is my mouse gone all laggy? Oh. battery time.
What do you need?
I think I've got one.
Shearer, not always factory reset on those boards after flashing.
Right, something weird has happened now with the USB. Because when I plugged in my USB stick, now my mouse has gone mad. And I unplug it, and it works fine again. Wow. The USB issues with this particular motherboard are driving me slightly bananas. Have I got another USB port on here somewhere? I don't want to plug it into something which isn't USB. This is bizarre. Why can I not just do things in my life? USB. Let's try that one there. Hey, hopefully it won't kill the stream. Is my mouse still working? Yes, it is. Okay. Right, so this is the motherboard, ROG Strix B660-A Gaming Wi-Fi D4. So we're going to head over to support. And if we go to CPU and memory support, if I scroll down, so we're looking for the i5 13500, which is there. So that was supported from BIOS version 1620, which is, I think, is the same for all of the those chips, the whole range. So we need 1620 as a bare minimum. We go to driver and tools, go to BIOS and firmware, go to there.
Mike Bob thinks it's November from your date.
Alright, yeah. So I've tried so far, I'm on this BIOS for, no, this is the one we're on currently. This is the one I tried as well. I don't know if I've done 1620 actually.
No.
So let's try it. We'll try 1620. Let's send that to our USB drive. We'll send that there. Show in folder. And let's get rid of the old ones. So delete that. Yes. Delete that. Yes. And now we're going to have to unextract it. Oh, why does it move to the other thing? There we go. Extract. So, depending on how we do it, if we want to do it as in a BIOS flashback, we have to do the BIOS renamer. So, run that as administrator. And that'll be on the other screen. And why is it doing it on that screen? Get it over there. So that is basically what it's going to do. It's going to rename the BIOS so you can put it onto the root of your flash drive. Press a key to continue, if I can find a key. And there we go. So now we've got our cap file. And that is in the root of our USB drive. So I can close that down now, close that down now. And let's go back to the main camera. And let's kill that off, kill that off.
Shady says, aren't we supposed to come to you for help?
Yeah, that's in an ideal world. It just goes to show that we're all learning. So now I've got, Jesus Christ, that drive gets hot. So there is a BIOS flashback port on the back here. So if I turn the power supply on and press the button, press and hold it until it starts flashing. I think that is, yeah, I don't know if you can see that from your side, but there is a flashing LED going on. It's tucked away underneath the Strix block of metal. You can just about see it. Not sure if you guys can. I'll turn it around a bit. Can you see anything flashing there? Don't know if you can. Anyway. We'll let it do its thing.
Keeps blurring. You need your face in there.
The light's on. Oh shit. Well, it looks like the light is on permanently. It's hard to tell.
Is the CPU cooking?
No, not yet. Can you turn that light off a minute, Kath, please? Can't tell if it's on or not. Yeah, the light's on solid now. What's the light on solid for? Oh man, this is just getting worse and worse.
On again?
Yeah. Yeah, so the light's on solid now. That shouldn't be on solid, I'm sure.
Chuck an egg on it.
Oh, I hate this platform. So the light is still on. But it should be flashing, I'm sure. But it's just a solid light.
Remove CPU and flash BIOS.
You shouldn't have to remove the CPU to flash the BIOS though. Or the RAM for that matter. Let's try to press that button again. Right, now it's flashing. 1, 2, 3. And now it looks like it's staying on all the time. Right. Let's take this RAM out. I think this board is actually haunted. Or at least for this particular application anyway. Come on, where's the flashy? Press and hold maybe. There we go. Right, now the LED is flashing, I think. It's really hard to see it. No, it's just staying on now. Grr. This is so annoying. I don't want to do that again.
Some Motherboard can support in-socket CPU BIOS updates, others don't support CPU installed to update BIOS. You shouldn't correct, but if the CPU is faulty,
right,
then removing the CPU will allow the flash to run to completion.
The CPU isn't faulty. That is this one actually does work. But let's take the socket and everything out, and we'll do it by the book. I'll even disconnect the cooling fan. If I have to update the BIOS from inside the BIOS, then I'm going to have to get out the big guns, I think, and put some proper cooling on there, because I don't want to cook the CPU whilst it's doing a flash, because that would be very bad. And I'm sure the lovely people at both MSI and Intel won't be very happy with me destroying their processor on ASUS board.
Snappy can be impossible in 30 minutes if you need help.
I need more than bloody help. Right, let's
What
pull
does
it
the
out.
manual say about BIOS update with a USB drive?
It says don't do it. It says send it to a professional who isn't a muppet. So I'm a bit screwed.
Do you have to rename the BIOS on the flash drive?
Yes, that was what the BIOS renamer tool in theory is supposed to do, which it looked like it did. It turned it into a cap file. Did I put it in the wrong slot before? I didn't even look. Right, let's try that now. Right, now it is flashing, and it stopped. So if it flashes 3 times and stops, that means the file is either incorrect or the drive is not recognized. So I'm gonna do it again. I'm going to try it on a different USB slot as well. Sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what life is like. Life is like a box of chocolates. You actually don't know what you're going to get. Replace the file in the destination. There we go. So there is that. So we can do the renamer. Run as administrator. Oh, that's on that side, isn't it? There. Press the key to continue. And is that giving us a cap file? Where's your mouse? Right, I'm going to delete the cap file. Delete. Yes. Let's try that again. There we go. So that has done it now.
You need the 18.
So delete that. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Why is...
If you tried shouting work, you bastard.
BIOS renamer isn't... Why is BIOS renamer open, for damn sake? What's going on here? What have I moved there? Oh, that's a chat window. Try again. Right. So, cap file. How big is the cap file? Someone's messaging me on Discord. I'm busy.
It's me.
Oh, it's Cap. Sounded like mine.
Oh, I love Sooty.
Right, so 16.338 megabytes. That don't sound right. Oh, I don't care anymore. Where's the drive? You can get an idea from how long this is taking, what it's like filming videos in this place. Right, 1, 2, 3. Flash in, flash in, flash in. Continue flashing, please, you horrible, horrible bastard. Right, so it doesn't like having that BIOS version installed on it for some reason. So that means I am going to have to go with trying to keep the CPU cool on here. Oh man. There's me thinking, I know, this will be a nice easy stream, just explaining to the lovely people how much fun this has been. Far, far from it. Come on, Sooty.
I love Sooty. You remind me of Sooty Fling.
Up yours, Sooty. Right, let's get the big guns out. If you're going to cool a processor, cool it properly. Now, to be fair, I've not used this on a Intel platform yet, so this will be an interesting one.
I wish it had Sooty. My little hand glove puppet, shouldn't they? And he could have used his magic wand.
I am going to punch you straight in the face.
It would work.
Oh dear Lord, help me. Lordy, right. Now this is the thing where I actually get pissed off with Arctic, because at this point now, as much as it must be really good fun to kiss Greta's ass, where the feck is the manual? There's no manual, so you kind of like, right, I got loads of bits here, what the fuck do I do with them? As you can probably guess, I'm getting sick of this shit now.
This is what I've got to deal with.
Fuck's sake.
Innit, flamey.
Right, how's that fit in there then? Does that even go in there? Is this real life? See, that's a stupid idea anyway to start with. Why would you do that? So now I've got to look up the bloody manual. As if it's not enough hassle. Right, let's QR code this. Which camera am I actually on? I'm on that one. That's all right. QR code. Scanning. I hate QR codes. Right, be careful to use correct standoffs with correct backplate. Well, there's only one set in there, you moron.
May not like the USB you're using. It's the one you always use.
Yeah, it's literally the one I've always used. Compatibility issue does not apply to Liquid Freezer 2 with revised cover. Well, I got the original one, I think. Oh, a list of motherboards have been confirmed to have this problem where it doesn't fit. Please don't be on there, otherwise I am going to smash this thing to pieces, I swear.
You could have built an AMD system by now.
I could have built it and sold it by now. Right, where does... Right. No, I don't want to see that radiator above pump. Yeah. I want to know how to do the bracket. Yeah, brackets on the side. Right, Intel socket. Well, that doesn't show me anything. Backplate nuts. You're shitting me. Right, so apparently this is user friendly. So these little backplate nuts, you just basically push through. They don't really want to lock into place either. It seems that's flat. And to hold them in place, you use a plastic rubber washer. That fills me with confidence.
Rory, the moment I wake up and it's all a dream. It's day 3 of it for you.
Oh, this is like week 3 of it. This has been ongoing since Christmas.
Shady. Online manual. Have to build and run PC without cooler so you can download and read the manual.
Yeah, it's bloody stupid, isn't it? I understand what Arctic are trying to do. They're based in a country which is very, very green, and they try and do everything like as good as they can, because otherwise they get penalised. But
so you've got to charge up a device to read the manual instead of having a piece of paper you can recycle.
It's just all, it's bollocks, isn't it? It really is. It's like for the 3 pence of bloody paper that they've saved, it's just caused me aggro. And actually, I genuinely don't like reviewing Arctic products anymore, because it's just so much of that green nonsense, like BS. I'm just not playing that game. It's good that they want to save stuff, but just do it in something which actually makes sense. Like, maybe don't have so many heaters on in your warehouse or something, I don't know. Right. So that is supposed to go through there. And now we've got to use these standoffs.
In their cooler warehouse.
Yeah.
Heaters in their cooler warehouse.
Oh, that's mint, because you turn those round and the nuts on the back spin. Jesus. And why has that one come through almost all the way, and that one's come through hardly any of the way? Oh dear.
Mark Berry, Sun PC has the dreaded kernel error 41.
Right, that screw. These screws, they literally just spin round and round and round forever.
Xmas was 7 weeks ago. Feels like it was yesterday.
Does that?
It's nearly spring.
Right, this, why, oh man, this is ultra frustrating. Right, let's unplug all this nastiness. This should not be this hard. I was thinking to myself the other day as well, I might put that Arctic cooler in my my main PC, just so I can have a little bit of extra cooling power. I'm so glad I didn't. Yeah, that doesn't even sit flush on there. So you've got to play some sort of Ah, right. Now I get it. So, you gotta take it all apart. Oh dear.
There's an arrow on the back plate from the way it goes on.
Someone says, look at the size of that spider on the wall. What spider? Mike's Unboxing's 2023 disappointment build. Yes, got it in one. So these rubber things on the back basically don't hold it in place at all.
Patience you must learn when installing an Arctic's cooler. I think that needs updating then.
That don't even line up. I'm guessing it's supposed to.
Do you know what time it is?
No.
Hammer time.
Whoa, whoa, hammer time. Oh dear.
IKEA hammer time. The washers go on top, don't they, Mike?
Well, you'd think so. But they don't, apparently.
Oh, headaches.
Oh, you fuck. Whoa, it's madness. There's two lots of threads. And it's not entirely clear which one is which, so... So I'm guessing you have to do that until... That doesn't feel very nice. That has got to be wrong.
Should we just pack it up now?
I wish I could. Right, where's the bloody manual? Is that still open? No, it's not. Oh, I've got to scan it again. Arctic is ass-ho.
You have to use your spyware again. But let me see what other apps you've got open in the background.
Right. If you have received the included, be careful to use the correct standoffs with the original backplate.
Brand new tech for you.
HB pencil and paper. It's really modern.
So much easier.
Upgrade kit.
And reliable.
Original. I should have a look at the actual thing. See if this is the one with the problem. No, that's fine.
Why can't you use another one?
I haven't really got another one. Well, I kind of have, but Freezer 360. Just
check the arrow on the back plate.
Yep, got the arrow. The arrows are facing up and down, which is kind of right.
Kind of.
I think. So brackets, yeah, we know about that. Socket
Just
LG.
use the Repario spell on it. I told you to get Sooty's wand out.
See, it doesn't show you whether the backplate goes that way round or the other way round.
How much did MSI
No, that's right.
destroy ASUS?
Not enough. Right, so you get to there. Oh, you've got to click on that installation. Oh dear, this is horrendous. Oh, what socket? So... Oh, that's cool. You click on installation and it basically doesn't tell you anything. Let's go back to the top. So socket, preparation. I know preparation, we've done preparation, whereas I'm just getting too old for this shit. Thank you for saving us, Michael T. Get yourself a still drink. I think I need one. Thank you. Right, installation.
Which revision cooler?
I think it's revision 2. See, it doesn't show now for LGA 1700. It just shows you how to plug things in, not how to actually fix the bloody cooler.
Just hold it down by hand.
Right, there are supposed to be washers over the bolts. I'll give up. That to me doesn't look particularly like it's going to stay, and I think it's actually going to put more stress on the board. I went to screw something, then it was a capacitor. Don't screw capacitors, it's not good.
Zip ties are always an option.
Oh, this was supposed to be so easy. Screw you, Arctic. Right, let's put this base on. I'm hoping this is enjoyable for at least 1 or 2 people out there. Thank you, O'Reilly. Bless your heart. And thank you, Michael. Get a sledgehammer and start smashing up this motherboard. It's very tempting. Although if this works, it'll be awesome. Well, when I say awesome, right, so that has got to go now there. We got this.
Is this CPU too much for a big air cooler?
Yeah. Well, it is in, well, if it is in Windows, it'd be alright, because then you could set some of your thermal stuff up, but most systems, when you go into the BIOS, they just go flat out balls to the wall with no power management. So it just goes, okay, I'm at 100 degrees, it's absolutely fine. When clearly it's just so not fine.
Pop out the CMOS battery.
Why? Why would I want to do that? I want to pop outside and shoot myself. Right. Don't need too much thermal paste here, just enough to get us going. I've got through so much thermal paste this week, it's just ridiculous. Right then, so we'll stick that on there.
Gerard hates online manuals and always ends up printing them out.
Why is that stuck there now? Oh, you absolute anuses. Is that actually touching the bloody CPU thing? Oh my god. Oh my god. I want to go home. Oh, I am home. Shit.
One mobile for sale. One over, only 3 months.
Yeah.
It's not going to work, Mike.
Lucky man, thank you. Wild Bill, it's not going to work. Wild Bill, you do it too easy, man. There's a reason why I've got no hair, and that's because I don't give in. I never surrender. I'm a Taurian. I've got lots of patience until the point where I just flip out and do stupid things. And
Rev 6 or 7 for 1700 CPU, unless you've got Arctic to send you a kit for older revision.
I got the revision kit. Thank you. So actually, it's, in fairness, once this is set up, it's probably not too bad. But the whole point of having a manual.
Pop it out while you're messing so it resets BIOS completely. The BIOS battery, that is, by the way.
Okay.
Popping out anything else. Andy will give you a fiver for the board, Mike. It's not actually ours.
It's not even ours.
Obviously nicely refit before power up.
Right, let's pop the battery out.
Check the CMOS battery voltage.
It's a brand new battery. Rick H, thank you for thermal paste. So one of the companies that are like funny should actually do some thermal paste in a tube, which is actually sandwich spread, like tuna mayonnaise flavour or something. So you could put your thermal paste on a cracker. Am I losing it? Have I lost my mind? I think so. Right.
John Jones says it's the cooler I use. I think it's definitely the best value, but I use it with a 5800X.
Right.
Chicken.
Yeah, carnation chicken in a thermal paste spread. You know that makes sense.
What with purified raisins?
Yeah. Now, O'Reilly, what am I looking for in this thing again? Carnation chicken's good. As long as I ain't got raisins in. I'm not really keen on the raisins in it. And can I do anything in the BIOS with this? So what am I doing? I'm flashing the old BIOS, aren't I? Is that the theory? I'm going to put on the 1620. 1620 blazing. Oh, I need a keyboard and mouse, don't I?
John Jones was Coral the Jackal before.
Ah. You guys all changing your names and stuff. I swear you do it to confuse me. And if you do, well, it's working. That's what you said. Right. Is that in the on position? Yes, it is. Let's get this thing fired up.
Bang!
Idiot. Honestly. That's just not even funny. However you look at it, that isn't funny. Stuart, thank you for your 20 euros. Have you tried hitting it in several places with a piece of wood or something? No, but I might use Kath in a minute.
Yeah, I've got plenty of wood down here.
Right, what are we stuck on now? Now we're stuck on memory. What processors did I put back in there? Please tell me I put the bloody right one back in. Yes, I did. Right, so now that isn't working.
Hit it with a piece of wood.
Oh, God. Right. I'm so confused right now. So RAM initialize.
Mem training.
Memory train don't take that long.
Reset CMOS to put battery back in.
Yeah.
Tolerances and mounting pressure.
It shouldn't make a great deal of difference.
Burn it.
So that's on memory. So why is it not passing memory?
Unplug HDMI cable.
Unplug everything. Nope, those are supposed to be there. Actually, I'm going to turn that off and I will discharge the battery.
Turn of the RAM sticks.
Yeah, those RAM sticks worked like 10 minutes ago. Well, a bit longer than 10 minutes. Tumbrel with 20 Canadian euros. Thank you. Thermal Paste Defence Fund. Thank you, sir. Right, now we're stuck on DRAM again, which was what we had before with the other processor. This board is definitely jinxed. Which camera am I even on? I don't even This is real life. I am super confused now. So we've taken a million steps backwards now.
Where else is from Greece?
Oh, I wish I was in Greece. Right, let's see if... Actually, that's going to be on that anyway, isn't it? Oh, dear Lord.
Try one stick of RAM.
RAM on, RAM initialized.
Is it 1620 bad flashed? Maybe you have to put another BIOS back.
Yeah, but if it was a bad flash, it shouldn't get as far as that. But I am going to try, because I am slowly running out of the will to live here.
I hope CCL employee isn't watching, as they will be cancelling that RMA.
Well, the thing is, I haven't done anything to it, have I? It's basically I'm doing anything which a normal person would do to a motherboard when they're trying to get their system running. See, now it won't flash the BIOS. It refuses to flash version 1620. Nope, won't do it. Oh dear. Right, let's turn this off. No, not turn it off. Let's take this off and see if removing the CPU cooler would have any bearing on it whatsoever. If it has, I'm going to be pissed.
Which one would you throw first, the cooler or the low blow?
At this point, I don't know.
Let's chuck them both.
Yeah. If I could afford to, I would chuck them all.
Poor Karen.
Sorry, Kieran. Right, let's take the cooler back out of the equation now. You can stay over there because you've been very naughty. Let's take those screws out.
Is that motherboard bricked?
I don't know. Maybe. I might have to download a newer BIOS. William Bodie says, I don't know what I enjoy more, new tech or Mike suffering. Thank you. Amber Flame saying maybe put back a newer BIOS. I think I might have to. Then there is a section actually in the BIOS which will let you flash an older BIOS, but you have to get into the BIOS for that to physically work. So, yeah. Ooh. Right, CPU in the socket. Right, I think we're just going to have to wing it and go with it being noisy as all hell. So reset all the pins.
Board is not brick.
Who's saying that?
Sneaky, is it?
Well, in theory, because it's got BIOS flashback, there should never be a point where the board itself is bricked, because it should always be recoverable via the USB flashback.
Glenn's got munches in the kitchen making chocolate crepes.
Nice. Ugh.
Can you hook into socket, please?
No. Not now you can. Maybe if you're good later. Right. Is there anything I've forgotten? I honestly don't care anymore.
Bang!
Seriously, I'm going to be on the phone to the mortgage advice people for a new house. Ray, right, now I've got a white LED, so there's something pissing me off about that cooler now. Fucking hell. Sorry about the language, but for fuck's sake. Sweet God. Right, give me a bloody output. Asshole computer.
T, can you
Oh,
answer that one? Too long to read.
Michael T, silly question. Is this a DDR4 or DDR5? It is DDR4. Right, we're booted now.
And you downloaded the correct BIOS version for said DDR4, DDR5 maybe.
Yeah, I have got it on there. Press delete or F2. How do you do that on a touch screen? Listen to that fan. Absolutely crying. Oh, that's okay.
But flashing it twice overwrites the flashback, does it not?
Right, F1. CPU temperature 50. Oh, that's all right. It's only a couple of thousand degrees. Right, you're not going to be able to see this at all. So, I don't know what to say. I suppose I could.
Is that monitor right?
I have got a bloody great idea.
Oh god.
Oh, this is genius level. So it's clearly going to work. Right, I need a long HDMI cable, very similar to this one actually here. Right, if this works, I deserve a big sloppy kiss. Let's put that into there. And in theory now, if I go to USB webcam and into, let's add a source. Can you hear me still? I think you can. So let's add a video capture source and we'll call this HDMI 3. Camlink HDMI 3. It's only gone in bloody worked, kind of. Right, let me turn this off and we'll go back in, because otherwise it's not going to recognise what resolution it is. Right, start up, you little minky. Where's that cup of tea made?
Over on your desk.
Oh my god, I can't get over there. Can you still hear me? Say yeah in the chat if you can hear me.
Where have you gone? Is that there?
Hmm.
It was like a little tiny box at the top.
Hmm.
And I was saying no signal.
Oh, for God's sakes. Right. Oh, there we go. ROG. Yay! Look at that. See? My shit always works sometimes.
Well, is it?
That fan's ramping up a bit now. 68 degrees Celsius. 69 degrees Celsius.
Up on screen.
What options have I got here? Oh well, we'll just have to deal with that. So we want advanced mode. And
Watch the temp.
yeah, I can't because I can't see it. 69. Adaptive boost, performance. Oh, why is this not working? Come on.
Advanced mode, CPU power management, DLVR. Or rally.
Advanced.
CPU power management.
I haven't got CPU thing, I don't think.
Smacky lower CCV to 1.4 volts.
I don't want that really. Where did the Riley say it was?
Advanced mode, CPU power management.
Internal CPU power management, yep.
DLVR.
CPU set to auto, so what do I want it set to?
DLVR?
Yeah, what do I want it set to though? Auto, disabled or enabled? I'll wait for a reply.
I won't know where to find CPU management, power management now.
That's right. Do I need to, it's set to auto at the moment, so do I need it to be disabled or do I need it to, so CPU bypass mode. So do I want to enable it to bypass or do I want to disable it bypassing?
Disable, but that's smacky. Enabled.
Oh God, come on, you two.
Your BIOS not 20.
Mario says 70. Right, I've got the setting, but am I doing enabled or disabled? Smack is saying disable, so because it reads there CPU DLVR bypass. All right, but then I'm not going to know unless I change the processor, am I? Then I'm going to have to re-change him back. So I need to be kind of sure, really.
Ugly Bob says disabled. I don't know.
Okay. So bypass. So am I bypassing it because it doesn't have that feature, or am I bypassing it because it does have that feature?
Smacky, I think this board has a VRM issue.
I think this board has got so many issues, it's ridiculous. Hang on. Right. Well, let's try that then. Or should I try downgrading the BIOS whilst I'm here? Where's the camera? What do you reckon, guys? Should I do the reset the BIOS? Go back to version 1620? Or should we just go with that setting and try that? I don't know. I'm waiting for the chat. Let's do it. What? Do what? Reset the... Put a new BIOS on, or...
Save and reset it first.
Right, save and reset. Let's save and reset then. Let's go back to our webcam, which isn't really a webcam. So this is the disabled setting.
Reset the BIOS.
Who said reset the BIOS?
Ugly Bob. Or Ali, I would go with a BIOS version change. William Bodie 1620.
Right, okay then.
Go with 1620. Refresh 1620.
Refresh.
Reset to 1620.
So
I'd say chuck it all in the trash and open a beer. 1620 seems to be the...
there's something weird about this where it doesn't want me to press enter on anything. Selected file is not a proper BIOS. Well, it is because it's actually reading it, isn't it? Why is that doing that?
What version does it say is on the Motherboard?
The version is 2015. Oh, because it's renamed as a bloody cap file, isn't it? Shit now. Right. Let me get the BIOS on there again. Jesus Christ, this USB drive is getting so hot.
Use the keyboard mic. Load optimized settings. I think we'll all need a drink after this one, and it's Sunday morning here in Australia.
Right, I need this up, so Let's delete that. We'll extract that again. Okay, right. So I don't need the cap file this time. See, it's weird. I plug in a USB and for some reason it actually just the fan speed. Right, storage devices. Let's go up a directory. Come on. Right, I'm not sure, but it appears that it's hung. Oh no.
I bet the ordinary dude wish he'd gone to work. Stayed home and watched this.
Right, for some reason now the USB ports aren't working.
Also make sure that the BIOS is for the specific revision of the motherboard, if there is more than one revision. The problem is that ASUS is so overrated and so expensive. How to water a USB drive.
Right, I can't get the bloody mouse to work now.
Rog, middle dash, Strix, in capitals.
Right, it would appear that the BIOS or the actual display has frozen. So let's deactivate and activate.
That Ninja Duck says.
Right, it's dead.
Was dead the board?
Yeah. It has just died. I think. Let's try and start it up again. And see if we can get into the BIOS.
That Ninja Duck says, can I DM you a picture of my first ever PC build and you tell me if it looks alright? I'm nervous.
Yeah, if you want. Right, 77 degrees. Why is this just cooking itself?
If flashback didn't work because there was a subfolder in the USB, it has to be the cap in the root of the USB.
That's not entirely accurate.
Also restart the system and it'll work. Hey Poppy.
Right, where is AI Tweaker? Let's set some limits here. Oh, for fuck's sake. Right, it's going to put some thermal throttling on here so it doesn't go absolutely mad. "85 degrees, what is going on?" Why would you get that hot? Oh shit, that hurt. Why is it doing that? I've got the thermal bloody limit set. Or at least I thought I did. Oh, for God's sake, why does it keep on choosing the wrong thing? F7. That's not F7. Right, if I press F7, there we go.
clips snapped in properly.
I don't think so. For God's sakes. Right, let's see if I can get it to stay at 3.5 gigahertz. So we might have a little bit of coolness. Right, that's better. Praise the sweet lady Jeebus. Can you hear that? That's the sound of silence right there. Okay, now I can actually breathe, and it's only at 47 degrees. Let's see if we can do anything sensible in here. So, tool, easy flash. Oh, for God's sake, just press enter. Yes, I do. Selected file is not a proper BIOS. Right, so that rules that out as being a potential then, so we can't flash backwards. Although, saying that, there is... See, it doesn't want me to click on anything. Right, I'm going to smash this thing to pieces, I swear. I need a wired mouse. Can't deal with this incompetence of myself. Sorry, I'm looking at the time as well. I'm thinking, oh my god, I got to get up in the morning. Let's just choose a mouse and be done with it. Right, just plug in a USB mouse. There we go. Yes, we do. Right, there's something weird about that other mouse.
MR green, check the socket itself, then mounting.
Right, where is advanced? There's a setting in here somewhere which allows you to BIOS image rollback support. There we go. So this supports. Oh, so it is enabled. So that should work.
David Underhill's got to go and watch some paint dry.
What's that noise? An airplane? Or is that the chimney on fire?
Shouldn't be on fire though, should it? It's not doing anything.
It's gone now. Poppy, no. Magnets. What might have been an airplane going over? Right, sorry about this. Right, where was that thing we looked at before? It was the CPU thing. Oh, where was that setting?
What's it, Poppy? Fire.
Internal CPU power management, there we go. And that one. So, yeah, we still saying that's going to be disabled or enabled? Not seeing anything in the chat. Let me know in the chat We're going to try enabled or disabled. Looks like the chat is really far behind. Never mind. Let it catch up. So Smack is saying disabled. Okay. Right. So in theory, then, if we exit now, save and exit, save changes and reset, and so that's just going to leave it as it is. So in theory, now we can turn this off. And we'll go back to the main camera, and in theory now we should be able to take this processor off, put the other processor back on, and it should work. If not, I'm going to have to put the processor back on, turn that to enabled, and then try it. Oh dear. Oh, you arse. It's amazing how much quieter the fan gets if you basically turn it in, well, yeah, make it half the speed of what it should be.
Well, Riley says, but enabled was the setting you had when you tried the other CPUs.
No, it was on auto. So in theory, on auto, it should have kind of, well, done it automatically. I hope, I guess. The trouble is, I find with a lot of these boards that the auto setting doesn't seem to make any difference at all, really. Most boards don't fully kind of use auto, especially on PWM. Right. Come on. Come on, that processor is still a bit toasty.
Oh, it's caught up then. It's just saying.
What did the chat?
Yeah. Unless people press enter at the same time.
Where's the other CPU? There we go.
Smacky says, hurry up, I've only got 2 Thatcher's gold left.
Stuart Cleary, wow, you need great patience for PC tech problems. You do. You do. Well, imagine having PC tech problems and trying to run a live stream at the same time. I'm amazed my heart hasn't just gone. It probably will do one day.
Amber Flame says, weren't you flashing older BIOS?
Can't flash out older BIOS. It refuses to do it. It says that the older BIOS is not a BIOS, which clearly it is, because we know it's a BIOS. Just being stupid, isn't it? So, in theory now, I'm not going to go too excited about this, and let's just turn it on and see what happens. We should know immediately if it's going to work, because the BIOS LED should go further. So red, yellow, RGB initialize, and nothing. Nothing at all. So either enabled, either disabled is the wrong setting, or that isn't the answer to our problem, which is quite upsetting. And I still don't understand why I cannot flash the old version of the BIOS onto here. It just doesn't like it for some reason. I don't know why. So that has so I can't reset the BIOS either, can I? Because if I reset it, it'll take back those settings that I've changed. Let's try it one more time, just to be no Poppy, get down.
Poppy.
So red, yellow, RAM initialize, nothing, and nothing on, well, nothing anywhere. Go to the webcam, no, dim signalio. So it doesn't look like that is the setting either.
Try Windows M.2 now.
There's no point, because it's not initialized in anything, so it's not going to boot when it isn't initialized. I'll put it in there, but it's too far along the boot process.
What are you after? What? you want this in your box? You can rely on that. It's nice in there, isn't it? Go get your box. Yeah. Get your box. Do you want to sit on my lap?
There we go. We'll try this. For some reason, whenever I turn this on, it makes that monitor turn off. So there's definitely something not quite right with this board. And so in theory now, it should have something on the screen. Nothing.
Des Ducker says ASUS motherboards don't like wireless mouse or keyboards in the BIOS. I have the same problem. Had to buy a cheap mouse keyboard.
Looks like that is the case here. Sadly.
I'm not scratching paste pops.
Just realised the main scene that isn't called main anymore. Oh. So I am basically nowhere closer to even partially understanding it. Do I try the other setting and enable the bypass? I don't know. What do you think? Should I enable the bypass? Or was disabling the bypass the key to it? I don't know enough about that part of it, to be honest. Smakey, different PSU. So, if you've been watching the stream, if the 13900 works, why would a 13500 not work with the same PSU? Being that it uses half the power. To be fair, I've used 4 PSUs with this so far. PSU I don't think is our problem.
Bypass if you have time.
Let's enable the bypass. I think I might drive down the bypass in a minute. And close my eyes and see what happens. Hello Dave Thomas. None of it. Not a BIOS update, not a flashback. This is just pure misery. Literal, actual misery. I have not had this much confusion on a motherboard in whatever. I don't remember ever having this much problem. This is insanity. Let's put a little bit of thermal paste on there. We're down limiting this to 49 watts or whatever, so.
Glenn asks, bet you haven't licked the pins yet.
No. No. It's not a BIOS problem. I think it might be a BIOS problem, but not in the traditional sense of the word. I'm thinking it's more
it's a BIOS problem, they say.
Yeah, I think it's more the AGISA or whatever Intel's version of their firmware thing is. I don't think it's set correctly for these CPUs, at least for this particular motherboard. Right, so let's see if we can get into the BIOS. Should be able to now. So VGA and boot. There we go. Oh no, it's rebooted itself. Now we've got a red light and a green light. That sucks. Let's see what it says on the screen. Oh, right, okay, F1. Is it gone thermonuclear again? Oh, for God's sake. 88 degrees. Well, just throttle then, you flipping idiot. AI tweaker. You're supposed to be using 35 watts. Oh, right, where was that thing? CPU power, was it? Advanced. Was it in CPU configuration?
I think.
Internal CPU power management. There we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
Let me find it in the messages.
And so we want that bypass enabled. Exit, save changes and reset. And OK. Right, that seems to have done something because it actually decided to make a change and then reboot itself and actually turn off the BIOS, which normally is a sign that there is something which has taken. William saying the CPU speed is faster again. I know. I don't know what's going on. It's like I said, I swear this motherboard is possessed. How on earth they managed to get it to pass their burn-in tests, I will never know. Although, unless their burn-in test is actually, is this sucker going to set itself alight? In which case, I can imagine it passing that test pretty easy. Right. Oh, sorry, you got no screen, have you? Sorry. Such a bad host. Right. What processor is this? 13500. So this is the last attempt. If this doesn't work, regardless, the board's going back because, like, we've spent the best part of 3 hours now trying to remedy this with various different things. I think it's clear to say if this setting isn't it, there is something very, very spooky about this board, and it needs to be looked at.
Spooky.
Well, it is, isn't it? It's just like, why? There's no logic behind any of this stuff which is going on.
Is it Mario's? Have you tried the CPU to different motherboard?
Yeah. The CPU was actually out of my video editing rig. And it's been working fine for, well, a good couple of weeks. And in fact, if I put it back in that board now, straight away, it works. Absolutely fine.
Would you lose a fair amount of money if you trashed that motherboard and bought an MSI board? No, because it's Kieran's board. I haven't given him any money for it yet. Well, I technically have, but I haven't because he sent it back. So we're still kind of waiting to see what's going on. I'm hoping that it's going to go back to CCL and they're going to see this footage or at least know about it. And they're going to be like, yeah, clearly you've got a problem with that. It's not working as it should do. And still, we have nothing. I'm going to check on the other output. No, we still have nothing. Go to the main. I'll give you the overhead actually. So if I turn this off, weirdly, if I turn it on now, look. Adamant IT's been lurking.
And it starts. Adamant IT! Graham, save me from this madness, please. Few notes. ME is the Intel equivalent of a GISA. Thank you. So, as you can see, when it comes to the LEDs, actually I missed it myself. Let's go back. So, this will reboot now. So, red for CPU, RAM initialize, pretty colors, then it should go to VGA and obviously boot, which clearly it still isn't doing. So, yeah, saying that it's quite normal for a motherboard not to allow a BIOS downgrade. The weird thing is it has actually done it before. I have actually, on this particular board, I have managed to downgrade the BIOS from inside the BIOS. There is actually a tick box that says, do you want to allow the override so you can downgrade the board? But weirdly, for some reason, it just isn't playing ball. There is something very, very strange with this. So, no, I won't save you. That board is haunted. It definitely is. It's just, I don't know. Literally, we've spent 3 hours now. So we've tried RAM in every slot. We've tried 2 processors. We know that one processor works. The 13900K works and is absolutely fine, albeit it wants to set fire to itself with this cooler. There's no obvious logical reason why the 13500 will not work, or the 13400 for that matter, unless it is something to do with that CPU step-in, the C0s or COs. are just not compatible with the BIOS for some reason. Maybe ASUS have dropped a bollock somewhere along the line, and the management engine or the firmware, it kind of knows it's there, but maybe there's just a little tick box that they haven't selected. I kind of wish I had another 13th gen processor now, like a 13600 maybe, to see if that works. Although that doesn't help, because if you've got a motherboard which only works with certain processors at this time, then this is very limiting. So I don't know, I'm yeah, I don't know. Graham says, I do think a full reprogram might yield interesting results, but yeah, it's a new board, doesn't work with the CPU it's supposed to, RMA. Yeah, Smacky says, error in ME programming. That is possible. William Bodie says, now you are out of sync. Am I out of sync now? Am I out of sync?
I don't know, mine is playing so behind me. Yeah.
Massively? I can't see that. My eyes don't work that well.
Like that.
Oh yeah, I am out of sync. Excellent. Ugly Bob saying not out of sync for me. Yep, you shouldn't have to dick around with certain... Where's my... Oh, I haven't plugged my mouse back in yet, have I? I'm still plugged into this thing. This is not good. Well, Graham, I will say, if my son is watching this stream, which is extremely unlikely...
He knows, because I've just shown him,
right.
and he already knew, because Ashton told him.
Yeah, my son is a massive fan of your channel, as are most of us in the chat, and myself, obviously. So, George, if you're watching, you should be watching my videos all the time and not watching bloody Graham's.
And could he wish our nephew happy birthday for tomorrow?
Oh, God. I'm not going to get to the celebrity thing. Graham, would you possibly mind wishing our nephew happy birthday for tomorrow? His name's Ashton. If you would say that in the chat, we'd be massively appreciative of it. How embarrassing. Oh, dear. So, basically, I think it's knackered. And I don't think there's anything else we can possibly do. I've never had this before. Well, I tell you, the last time I had this was in the very early days of Socket S370, I think it was, when you could have motherboards from SIS, Intel, AMD, all sorts, all using well, Super Socket 7 they called it, and all processors worked on the same platform, but you used to have little jumpers, and you have to move a jumper for certain types of frequencies. Some boards really were quite flaky in that regard, and getting them to work right was sometimes problematic. But since then, in the modern era, I've not experienced anything like this at all, where some processors would work and some wouldn't. I've had it where some processors would basically cook themselves. If you put them on an AM3 board, some of the FX range would just basically slowly cook a board, but never have I got to the point where a system would not post when it was supposed to. So this is rare. Very, very weird. Bless you, Graham, for that. You're a lovely, lovely man, despite what it says in the toilets. Ah, dear. Right, so, yeah, I think this has got to go back to, well, obviously CCL in the first instance, because they are the retailer of this board. After it's gone back to CCL, again, I don't know whether they're going to watch this stream. I would hope they probably would, just to get some insight of what we've actually been through as a community, because you've all come along for this ride with me. I've been going through this personal hell for the last week, and prior to that, about another week before that, trying to get this all fixed. So this has been one of those things where this has taken a lot of time and energy, and it gets very, very frustrating, especially when you kind of know in your heart of hearts that you're doing all the right things, but you're not getting the right results. It's super, super frustrating. And again, the fact that we can get one processor to work but we can't get another, it just leads all down the same path of there being something inherently wrong with either the chipset, the motherboard. Something somewhere isn't working as it should do. These things are meant to be plug and play. I know we used to always joke about that in the Windows 95 days and Windows 98 days, with USB being, yes, everything's just plug and play, or plug and pray as we used to call it, because literally you plug in a scanner or something and pretty much guaranteed it was going to crash. I think a lot of us have probably been there at some point. Yes, anyway.
Marius says there's a video with the same motherboard acting weird. Jay's 2 cents channel.
Oh, right, thank you for that. I'll have a look on Jay's channel for that and see what the deal is. Ah, yes. Yeah, I think if they try a 13100 in it, I'm not sure. I guess, yeah, the 13100 and the 14 and 13. Sorry, the 400 and the 500 must all be on the same C0 step-in. So maybe that is the issue. They tried it with potentially a high-end CPU, like I have, and got it to post and to work. But that doesn't help if you're trying to run a different processor. This thing is going to get some serious air miles on it. It's already been up and down the country numerous times. So I'm going to put the CPU socket cover on, because we all know what happens if you don't put the CPU socket cover on. They get very upset, start crying, and tell you to shove your RMA where the sun doesn't shine, which is bad. So I'm actually going to stick it on there so it doesn't even come off loose in transit. And we're going to pack this thing away, because I am like some very good sausages on a barbecue. I'm done. I've had it. Ah, dear. So,
Bandy, is this an episode of Fix or Fail?
Is this a fix or fail? This is a fix or to be continued. Currently, as it stands, arguably this is a fail. But it's actually a slightly more interesting one. It's frustrating as it is for all concerned, myself and Kieran. I think this is also one of those kind of learning things that, with any luck, we should see from either ASUS or CCL. We might get something back. What am I looking at? Sorry, Kath?
Lucky Man.
Lucky Man. Oh, sorry to hear that, Lucky Man. Bless you. And, yeah, everyone involved. Where's my other screwdriver? I probably threw it in a fit of rage earlier. What do I do with that? Did I put it away? I wouldn't have put it away. I'm not that good. Right. I'll put the overhead camera on. Someone please tell me where the flipping hell my screwdriver's gone. What's the rule coming to? Oh, there it is. Actually right in front of me. What a moron.
Dutch Jan sent that video.
It's getting late.
Sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, thanks, Dutch Jan. Appreciate that. That is very, very good of you.
Fix or F. Episode 5.
Fix or flipping rubbish. It's interesting though, isn't it? Come on.
Graham asked, what chip were you using again? That wasn't working. Tell them to try that one, but you did.
Yeah, I've tried a 13400F and also a 13400F and a 13500, because my initial thing was maybe it was the onboard graphics setup. It needed it, or it wanted it for some reason, because it wouldn't display. So I then sent that processor back and got the 13500, which I thought would fix it, and clearly has done a very, very poor job of doing that. Yes. So I'm overall I'm pretty miffed with the whole thing, and I've got an absolute ton of stuff to clear up now. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a few more little questions before we wrap things up, and then we'll bring things to a close, because this is going to take some clearing up. It really is.
The screwdriver.
The cat. That damn cat. Right, I've got to make sure I put stuff back in the right bags. One of the secrets of having a very good time with your components and not selling something or making something and then finding out you haven't got all the bits is to make sure you put all the bits back in the right bags. Graham says, I'm sure CCL will have one of those kicking around to test with. Yeah, it's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. I'm actually half tempted to send them my processor with it. I'll have to look to make sure I didn't... If I've actually bought it from CCL, which I actually might have done, I'm going to have to look. If I did buy it from CCL, I'll send the whole lot back and say, right, fix it. Nick Barnes says, so time-consuming mic. No wonder creation of videos takes a lot of precious time and valiant effort. Yes, it is. Sometimes there's videos which are just so easy to make. Literally just like, they basically make themselves almost. But then you get stuff like this where it just starts off and it just becomes an absolute minefield. It really does.
Glenn's off.
Cheers, Glenn. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Tim Wills asked, I have a 5600X and a 6750 XT. Is it worth upgrading to a B550 from a B450?
What was the processor, sorry?
5600X.
If 5600X and a 600 XT, is it worth upgrading to a B4? Yes. Well, yes and no. There are going to be performance uplifts there because you're going to be able to unlock the PCI Express Gen 4 nature of the motherboard and the components. So yeah, it's going to be considerably better. But if you've already invested in the B450 and the B550 board isn't that cheap, then the kind of cost per frame aspect of it isn't going to be great. But having said that, I don't know, it's one of those things. I probably would do it just purely because of the fact that really that is the best way forward. You're really holding back your graphics card with PCI Express Gen 3. Well, the whole time really, the whole system, sorry. But it depends how much extra it's going to cost you. If it's going to cost you around about £50 to upgrade, if you can get money back on your old board, then I would say it's probably worth it. Anything more than £50, you're kind of getting into the point of like, is it really worth it? Arguably not. Which way did these go round? I never remember this. I'm not opening up that damn PDF again.
Right. Looking back through the video, Dave Thomas.
Dave Thomas, go on, Dave.
Do you want me to read it? Looking back through the video, you're on BIOS 2015. The stick
Correct.
has 1620.
Correct.
So you'll need to use the rear USB port button combo.
Correct.
UEFI flash in is normally upgraded it's normally upgrade only, so you could try BIOS 2212.
Right, okay, I got you. Now, I've tried, there's 3 potential BIOSes which could work with that processor. And of the 3, I've used all of them apart from 1620, which was the first BIOS release that supported that processor. That is the one that, for some reason, I just cannot seem to get it to flash onto the board. Now, to be fair, we're at the same situation where, as an end user or as a customer, I shouldn't be having to go through this jumping through hoops to get it to work. It should just be flash the BIOS, latest version, and it works, which is basically not what has happened. So regardless of how much more messing around we can do with it, I'm personally looking forward to seeing what CCL or ASUS actually say about it, because clearly this isn't right. It isn't normal. This isn't what you'd expect to happen.
How was the thermal paste on the AIO?
How was the thermal paste?
Mount pressure on CPU okay?
There was contact. It probably wasn't the firmest. It might have been a little bit too firm, if anything, which was why it's
the firmest.
Yeah, why it stopped this. Sorry, I'm thinking about 17 things at once here. I think it was down to the fact that there might have been possibly too much pressure, but this thing, the Arctic Freezer 2 LJ 1700 upgrade kit, is very, very kind of cobbled together. It's not a very nice kit at all. It feels very, very wrong when you're using it. The tension actually seems either way too much, And there's no kind of indentations or anything to say, right, stop here, you've tightened this up way too tight. That isn't on there. Oh God, and was that with one of those? This is where you don't want to mess up the pins. Don't cross the streams. How many pins are in there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it's definitely one of those.
Have you tried turning it on and off?
How have I tried turning it on and off again?
Or off and on?
Once or twice. Graham's also saying, sorry, when I say Graham, I say it's Adamant IT. For those who don't know, Adamant IT, his name is Graham. Might be worth the upgrade for the better I/O, more USB, if that's useful to you. Definitely. B550. I personally prefer B550 as an overall platform. I think it's matured. It's taken the best aspects of X570 and it's matured and it runs better. You get slightly less throughput in terms of bandwidth, but I feel it's definitely worth it. B550 platform, I would say, is probably the best platform that there's been for the AM4. Right, next. I've still got to put my processor back in my own PC in a minute. God darn it. Again, massive shout out to MSI and Intel for the loan of that. Well, say loan, extended loan. Right, where are we? Smakey's saying not worth it unless you have Gen 4x4 NVMe as well. I don't know, I think you'll get the benefits out of the PCI Express bus for the processor and the graphics card, because the graphics card is not going to like being on PCI Express Gen 3, and if you've got other things going on, maybe you've got a capture card, either USB or PCI Express, then you're going to see some benefits there, because there's going to be just a little bit more breathing room all over. Okay, it depends how much you need to do with your system. If it runs fine now and the board's going to be super expensive and you can't sell the old one, then yeah, don't bother, there's no point. But if you're like us and you like the tech and it's just another something which you can play around with and build, then do it. Why not? We all like getting our hands dirty with tech every now and then, even if it is an Intel board which is giving you absolute grief. But we've had some fun, and well, hopefully it's been semi-educational. I feel that I've learned today, because I've always realised that there's a difference between CPU step-in numbers. They're basically like revisions, but if that is the issue with this, which I think it probably is, if the CPU step-in isn't fully supported in the BIOS, then that can cause a lot of problems in more ways than one. So it might not be just the fact that it's not booting, but it might be doing other things as well. Right, let's stick that back in there. Actually, let's get this thing out of my sight, because I'm sick of it now. I've seen that board so many times. Did I exit there? No, I'm good. I've seen that thing so many times recently, in and out of different motherboards and playing around with it. It is driving me a little bit mad. Oh, I hate packing away stuff. See, this is where people like Linus have got the right idea, where they've got people to do this kind of thing. I've got Kath, but I don't think if I asked her to put all this away, she'd be very pleased. Dave Thomas, I hate bars flashing. It's always that hold your breath moment. Will it work? I'm in a very fortunate position that I've got quite a few motherboards knocking around. I've got a few processors and stuff like that. So if something does go completely wrong, I'm not at a point where I can't even get on the internet to phone up the manufacturer or erase a return or something, I can still use some bits and pieces and carry on about my working day without too much hassle. Although this is probably an example of how that isn't right. Which processor is that? That's that one. Wish they'd make these things easier to see, I really do. So actually, on a flip side of things, it's very, very cool that the streaming PC hasn't crashed. I probably shouldn't say that now, because that's basically a green light for the gremlins to rock up and basically crash the system. And if anybody else is after a capture card, especially actually Graham as well, you might be interested in this. Elgato Camlink Pro, currently available on sale, reduced from £300 down to £129, which is actually less than the HD60, which has only got like one input. It doesn't have pass-through, so that potentially is a bit of a noise, but it's all right. And touch wood, it's worked and it hasn't crashed, and we're still live. There may be a little bit of sound lag, but we're still live. If you're streaming for 3 hours, 3.5 hours now, a little bit of lag I think is acceptable. God knows I'm lagging. I'm absolutely knackered. Michael says it's the board mic. They should have kept it and sent out a new replacement. I agree. The thing is, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do owe CCL a partial apology, and I'm going to reiterate it for those of you that haven't seen all of the stream or are just coming in. It is something which I did probably get more annoyed about than I should have. I wasn't very well at the beginning of the week. I had a bit of a sinus infection or whatever. We don't always make the best decisions when we're not 100% fit and well. Not an excuse, just laying it out there, so it is what it is. Yeah, I kind of insinuated that CCL didn't do what they were supposed to. They didn't check the board out fully, which arguably you could say they didn't really. They've put a processor in there, or maybe two processors in there, done some testing and found it worked. I'm guessing they wouldn't have tried every single processor because, well, why would you, to be honest? So I can't entirely hold them responsible for that, but I think on both sides of the coin, both from my side and also from CCL's side, there must be people at CCL thinking to themselves, this guy's an idiot, like it works, there's nothing wrong with it. And conversely, on this side of the fence, it's like, well, clearly it doesn't work. I've shown it in video evidence on YouTube numerous times already, now in another 3.5 hour stream. So it's like I said, this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this before. I've done fault finding, troubleshooting to some extent. I'm not an expert. I don't get paid to do it for a living, unlike Graham and people like that. But I've got a pretty good knowledge of how things work. So yeah, I personally would have been considerably happier if they'd have turned around and said, all right, potentially there might be something wrong with this board. We'll send it back to ASUS. We'll send you a new one just out of customer goodwill, which is something which a lot of companies don't do these days. They really don't. Thanks, William. Yeah. Michael says they should apologise to you, lol. I don't think they should do, but...
220 now, the Elgato.
Oh, is it? Oh, shit. Done well then. I was going to buy a couple of those. Yeah, it's one of those things that there's lots of rights and wrongs and things could have been done differently. I'm just hoping now that after we've gone through all of this palaver, checked it all out, I've gone through as many things possible, and I've done it with you guys as well. So it's not like it's just some random video which has been edited together to make it look like a product is bad. I've done all this deliberately live and in real time so you can see what I'm going through, and obviously take on board your suggestions as well, like O'Reilly's suggestion about the digital voltage limitation thing, whatever that was. Yeah, that was a good idea. To be honest with you, that did when he said it, it's like, yeah, that makes an absolute ton of sense. A feature which was present in some processors isn't featured now. That could be the magic bullet we're looking at to get this sucker started. But sadly, it wasn't to be. But again, we've gone through all the diagnostic process. We've tried so many things. I've done other things, obviously, outside of this. Literally 2, maybe 3 days worth of troubleshooting, farting about different graphics cards, different power supplies. Yeah, just getting really to the point of kind of desperation with it all. So hopefully they'll figure it out and save us from this nightmare. Ideally, I would love it if they turn around to Kieran and said, look, we're very sorry, we'll just give you a refund. That would be the ultimate thing to come out of this, for Kieran to get a full refund or even a partial refund of the purchase price. I think that would be fair at this point. I think having another motherboard or a brand new motherboard would be okay. It'd be a reasonably welcome gesture, but I think at this point we've got to the stage where we're all just pissed off with it and would rather just forget it and move on. I don't know. I'll be looking forward to hear what Kieran says if he's still in the chat. Skystalker says, we feel your pain. Where are we? We feel your pain, Mike. Thank you. I feel the pain.
Kenny D.
I generally do. Sorry, Kenny D. Kenny D. Is a RTX 37 stroke RX 6750 XT a worthwhile upgrade from an RX 6600 XT to play games at 1440p mid to high settings? Yes and no. It is definitely an upgrade, but it's not going to be huge. Again, depending on what you're... If you can sell your existing graphics card and make money on that process to subsidize buying the next one, then it probably is worth doing. I've recently gone from a 3060 Ti to a 6900 XT, which is a ridiculously much more powerful card. But in my actual use case scenario, it's actually made video editing slower. Rendering now is actually slower. The actual timeline is faster, but the actual rendering is actually slower because Premiere likes an NVIDIA card. So it depends what it is. If you're just doing gaming, there are going to be some games which will favour a Radeon. Conversely, there's obviously a lot of games at the moment which favour NVIDIA architecture. And actually, weirdly now, we're getting the other swing as well. So some games now actually favour the Intel architecture. So we're in a really, really weird position. So it's not like it used to be, whereas you buy a graphics card and in general, other than maybe 1 or 2 games, they were all roughly equal. And you'd go with whichever graphics card was the fastest, best value for money, etc., etc. Team Blue, Team Red, whatever you want to go for. But now we've got to the point where if there's specific games you play, there are some cards which outclass cards even the next generation up as well. So it's a really tough market right now. Very, very tough. I would say, again, I'm not too sure what the 6750 XT is price-wise. It's like anything. If you've got the money and you're feeling flush and it makes you happy, do it. If you're someone who's saving every penny and it's one of those things where you're struggling to justify it, then I would say if you're struggling to justify it, don't do it. Unless you can get a cracking deal for your old card or old component, whatever. Yeah, Graham's saying basically the same thing. Yeah, not going to change your world, only worth it if you can get a good price for the 6600 XT. Yeah. Kieran says, I would love a refund and to see ASUS kill it via firing squad. Awesome. Kev says, safe to say I'm not impressed with CCL. Yeah, it's I've got nothing inherently against CCL as a company. I've had some bargains from them, I really have, and touch wood, pretty much everything we've bought from them has been actually pretty much okay. There's been the odd thing, I think we bought a case, I think it was the GameMax F15, yeah, which one of the front fans was damaged. I fixed it, but it was one of those things that was like,
Probably wasn't that, it's probably the delivery.
yeah. And it was in the middle of the kind of the outbreak time, so everything was a bit weird anyway then. James Brock says there are things to be learned by doing and failing. I agree. In fact, if you don't fail every now and then how would you learn? Michael says, I'll be going from an Intel UHD 770 graphics to an RTX 3060 Ti. That's an awesome move.
James Brooks asked, has anyone tried out the RX 79? You better read it because then people
James Brock is saying, going to ask again this week, anyone try out the RX 7900 XT yet? I don't think so. I think they are very, very elusive. I don't think I know of anybody in our Discord who's said they've got one. Well, actually, tell a lie, one person did, but I can't remember who, and there wasn't very much discussion or chat on it. Mark Barry saying, I had to phone CCL a couple of weeks ago. It took a while to get the problem sorted, but sorted eventually. Excuse me. Where's my cough button? I haven't got one. Kev saying, never had an issue with eBuyer or Scan. I'll be honest, I've had issues with every single retailer I've used at some point or other. I think if you buy enough stuff or regularly enough, everyone's going to piss you off. Like Amazon, definitely at times. eBuyer, I've had things go missing because they were using Yodel. Who else?
Mike Bob.
Yeah, basically everyone. I've had problems with all of them.
Mike Bob's off.
Okay, cheers, Bob. Mike Bob. Right, I think I've exhausted this scenario so much, and I'm shattered. I'm completely shattered now. It's been a long week. Been very much trying. Ah, there we go. Yeah, Caradog has a 7900 XTX. He said today it's fine, does what it says it does, doesn't overclock though. There you go. We don't like overclocking much. I don't miss not being able to overclock really. The 13500 was one of those ones where it's like, can't overclock, but do need to sometimes. Anyway. Click text in. Are you Kev? Says hello and good night. Yes, and I think I'm going to say hello and good night. So thank you all for joining us on this absolute failure of a motherboard fix, which I didn't think we were going to be able to fix it, to be honest with you. I just knew that I needed to get out there, the frustration, the process, and basically going through all the things. The weird thing, for a motherboard to work with one processor from the same family and not another is weird. The fact that it's a different stepping, I think, is the key to the problem. I'll be very interested to see what happens. I will obviously keep all of you informed on what goes on. It'll go back to CCL, whether or not they'll refund it or whether they'll send it back to ASUS and they'll get involved. I honestly don't know. Maybe we've actually picked up on something which they didn't know about, which would be talked about more so in the tech media. You never know. It is a very new platform processor on a slightly older board, so potentially there is something which has gone a bit weird. Who knows? So, hopefully, hopefully you've been moderately entertained tonight. If you have, smash the like button because it all helps the algorithm. And actually, if you can, share the videos with your friends. Alternately, if you've got children that can't sleep, obviously share the videos with them. Or perfect thing, if you've got kids that are being naughty, tell them you'll put them on the naughty step with an iPad and the live stream of Mike's Unboxing. They will soon learn to behave themselves, trust me. Kids do not like it, especially 3.5 hours on the naughty step with an iPad. Wow. Anyway, thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you all so much for the super chats and your continued support on Patreon and YouTube membership, etc. Don't forget, I will be sending out Mike's Unboxing embroidered t-shirts to some of you lucky people who are basically the top tier people who help basically fund the channel. So we have a very, very limited first run. So we'll get those out, see how things go, see about getting some more. So if you don't get a t-shirt or we don't contact you to get one, it's not because we hate you, because we love you all. It's just that there's limited numbers, and we want to try and give to the people that give us the most effectively. It's a reward program, if you get me. So that is what it is. Thank you all for joining us. I think that's going to wrap things up. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. And hopefully it won't be about that fucking board. Night all. Sorry for the bad language. Oh dear. Oh, is that still working? Is it still working? William Bodie? That's for you. I am such a